Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reality Hacker for April 12th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 15. I am Merwat. I'm running ohmtown.com, which is a news aggregation site. This is a time machine episode because my mayoral duties required me to be elsewhere on the 12th. But since it's a time machine episode, it's basically the same thing. So it's kind of like the day after yesterday is tomorrow, something like that. But today we're going to talk about 5 articles. That's how our weekend shows work. The sentient AI is not, let me point the right direction. The sentient AI is not available today, at least not at this point. Temporal glitch prevented us from all working together. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about 4 years after death, personal mixed reality, jumping robot, murder prediction, minority report, and engineered bacteria. Because it's a time machine episode, there's actually 3 episodes that we're going to do. One is Reality Hacker, and then after that is Wanted, and then after that is I just forgot what the name of my actual show is. The Continuity Report. My God. Anyway, the Continuity Report is about entertainment. Wanted is about gadgets and gear, and then Reality Hacker is basically in the name. It's about hacking reality using technology of various sorts, technology and science. At any rate, let's get into this. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. If you are interested in hosting or co-hosting, you can send an email to mayor@ohmtown.com and we'll figure out the specifics, what show you want to do, what the topic is. If it fits within one of our pre-designed 50 shows that we're trying to bring to market, we have 7. 1 is a daily, 6 are weeklies, and 3 of them are what you're going to experience today if you watch us here on Twitch and or YouTube. So stick around. We hope you enjoy the show. And by we, I mean me and the sentient AI, but the sentient AI isn't here, so it is what it is. Anyway, we'll see you on the other side. All right, so I'm wireless, except for now, right now, I'm charging up my transmitter as we're doing the show. And so I'm slightly tethered, I guess you could say, but everything is wireless. So it's a different mic than I usually have, which is this thing here. But I don't like being tethered anymore to a desk. I could actually, once it's all charged up or I carry a battery pack, I would be completely wireless. So if the audio sounds different and you don't like it, leave a comment in the show notes. I would love to know. I know that there have been other audio kind of glitches because of the mic and pops and stuff like that. I can put a little pop filter on this. But this is a really nice microphone, and I hope that everybody enjoys the audio quality. That said, let's get into it. While this is the front page of ohmtown.com, each of our shows have a unique front page, which is more focused on the particular topic, even though sometimes we grab stuff from various other categories within ohmtown.com if it has relevance. It's just whatever it is that has caused the news aggregator to throw something into a particular category, a different show channel. We overcome it because we parse over 3,000 articles every day. That said, you're in Reality Hacker, and we're talking about first, Alvin Lucier, I guess is their name. I don't know how to pronounce their Lucier. I don't know how they pronounce their actual last name, but is still making music for years after their death, thanks to artificial brain. In Western Australia, a team of artists and scientists have resurrected the U.S. composer. It raises a storm of questions about AI and authorship, and it's incredibly beautiful, according to the author of this. In a darkened room, a fractured symphony of rattles, hums, and warbles bounces off the walls like an orchestra tuning up some parallel universe, but there's not a musician in sight. And the article is over at theguardian.com by Rosamund Brennan. And here is a picture of said composer Alvin Lucier, who donated his blood cells to be programmed into an artificial intelligence brain. So yeah, in the center of the room, visitors hover around a raised plinth, craning to glimpse the brains behind the operation, and under a magnifying lens sit 2 white blobs like a tiny pair of jellyfish, Together, they formed the lab-grown mini-brain of the late U.S. musician Alvin Lucier, composing a posthumous score in real time, which is beyond me. And definitely fit for a reality hacker because this is definitely hacking reality. When you look down into the central plinth, you're crossing a threshold, says Nathan Thompson, an artist and creator of the project titled Revivification. Revivification. You're peering down into the abyss and you're looking at something that's alive, just not in the same way as you. So they say here, revivification is the work of a self-described four-headed monster, a tight-knit team of scientists and artists who have spent decades pushing the boundaries of biological art, namely Thompson and his fellow artists, Guy Ben Airy and Matt Gingold, or Gingold, I'm not sure how they pronounce their last name either, alongside a neuroscientist, Stuart Hodgetts, or Hodgetts. Lucier is the perfect collaborator. In 1965, the composer became the first artist to use brainwaves to generate live sound in his seminal work, Music for Solo Performer. Longtime fans of his work, the Revivification team started brainstorming ideas with him back in 2018, but it wasn't until 2020, then aged 89 and suffering from Parkinson's disease, that the composer agreed to donate his blood to Revivification. And lo and behold, here are the blobs that you see into that lead to the sculptural and sonic installation that features 20 large parabolic brass plates with which curve out from the walls like golden satellite dishes. Hidden behind each plate is a transducer like a speaker and a mallet, which transpond to or respond to neural signals from the mini brain, filling the space with a kind of breathless, disembodied soundtrack. I mean, we're obviously anthropomorphizing what could be just random whatever, but they are pushing this idea that the revivification team, and it really is revivification, Rivivification. The team used custom technology to bring the work to life, pseudo-life. Lucier's organoids were grown on a fine mesh of 64 electrodes developed with a German bioengineer, allowing neural signals to be captured from multiple layers, much like a developing brain. And by proxy, they actually make music. For now, Lucier's genius lingers in the darkened room in Perth, composing in real time through a brain that lives on without him. When they told Lucier's daughter, Amanda, about this is a quote, by the way, Ben Airy says this, and I'm sorry for the cough. I didn't catch it in time. When I told Lucier's daughter, Amanda, about the project, she laughed. Ben Airy says, she thought, this is so my dad. Just before he died, he arranged for himself to play forever. He just can't go. He needs to keep playing. Quite fascinating, right? We can live on forever. Maybe this is something that I can leave in my will, where I can just keep on making noise of some kind, and maybe somebody would appreciate it. So, pretty amazing. I'm going to end up looking to see if I can actually hear this as a production. Hopefully, I don't have to go to Perth to get it, but I think that the world would benefit from hearing just what this has translated into. But it is really by proxy. It isn't necessarily the artist, but it's the artist's brains, so to speak, making this music by proxy. Let's keep going. And if you want today's articles, they're already in Omatron, so you can exclamation point, and then for Reality Hacker, it's RH. And Omatron will spit it out in the order that we were talking about it. The next article is a new way to bring personal items to mixed reality. Think of the most prized belongings in an increasingly virtual world. Wouldn't it be great to save a copy of the precious item and all the memories that it holds? What's interesting about this, though, is that Ubisoft just announced that you don't own any software. Everything that you buy from them is not yours. It is a license to consume, something that I've been talking about for close to 20 years now. And it's always a shock to people. Well, wait, what do you mean? I purchased the software. No, you purchased a license to consume, and you are just ignorant to the fact that the terms have changed. And when you purchased an item back in the day, you had physical property, but now you don't, and you haven't for quite some time. movies, books, software, pretty much anything that you buy online, unless it's a physical piece of equipment or property of some kind, shirt, um, you have lost your rights to it. A book can be pulled off of your shelf digitally, music can be recalled because the copyright holder, and a copyright can be pulled back at any time by the creator. Even in the light of a contract and whatnot, they'll get sued and they'll have to pay reparations basically for the crime of retracting their copyright. But for the most part, it's a contract grievance, and the rights holder is always the creator, which is a shame regarding AI. But anyway, so it's kind of far afield from where this article is actually going. A new way to bring personal items to mixed reality. Alex Ships from Massachusetts Institute of Technology put this article together. And it says in mixed reality settings, you can create a digital twin of physical items, such as an old doll, but it's hard to replicate interactive elements like the way it moves or it sounds, etc., and the sorts of unique interactive features that made the toy distinct in the first place. So researchers from MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, or CSAIL, sought to change that and have a potential solution. Their InterRecon program enables users to recapture real-world objects in a mobile app and then animate them in mixed reality environments. So you would be able to interact with this virtual construction into Recon. And it may be able to teach a doctor's apprentice organ surgery or cosmetic procedure by visualizing each motion needed to complete the task. But then I've always thought that that's weird, because just because you've done it in a virtual space, doing it in the real world, as if you have the muscle memory to facilitate this surgery or whatever action, it's disconnected. So I've always thought it was really weird. So while taking a picture or a video is a great way to preserve a memory, those digital copies are static. We found that users wanted to reconstruct personal items while preserving the interactivity to enrich their memories with the power of mixed reality. Into Recon can make those memories live longer in virtual settings as interactive digital items. So as long as the item actually has the physics, sounds, etc., I think it's great. But we still lack the resistance, the physics of it in virtual space. We've no idea about the weight, and our brain can sometimes trick us into believing something, but eventually we kind of catch on. So to make digital interactivity possible, the team first developed an iPhone app using the camera. You scan the item all the way around in 3 dimensions to make sure that everything is captured, and then a 3D model is imported into InterRecon mixed reality interface, where it can be marked as individual areas to select which parts of the model will be interactive: doll's arms, head, torso, legs, etc. But I think that to make it really attractive, you have to make the entire thing physics real. So I thought it was really interesting to talk about this. But InterRecon interfaces can be accessed via mixed reality headsets like HoloLens 2 and Quest and others, I'm sure, as time goes on. And it allows you to choose programmable motion of the part of the item that you want to animate after your model is segmented. But this is kind of low rent. I think this is the introduction to real physics into a mixed reality space. And until we have interaction, real world interaction, it's still nothing more than an academic exercise. But there's much more to this article, and there is a research paper. Zizou Li et al. Into Recon towards reconstructing interactivity of personal memorable items in mixed reality. And it's on the archive preprint server. And you can follow this link through ohmTown over to techexplore.com. And Alex Ships, again, is the author of the article from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. An insect-sized jumping robot can traverse challenging terrains and carry heavy payloads. Insect-scale robots squeeze into places their larger counterparts can't, like deep into collapsed buildings to search for survivors after an earthquake. The article is over at Tech Explorer from, again, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And to get the best of both locomotion methods, MIT researchers developed a hopping robot that can leap over tall obstacles and jump across slanted or uneven surfaces while using far less energy than an aerial robot. The research appears in Science Advances. The hopping robot, or hopeful robot, the hopeful hopping robot, which is smaller than a human thumb, and that's subjective. Not all thumbs are the same weight. Pardon me one second. It weighs about less than a paperclip and has a springy leg that propels it off the ground and 4 flapping wing modules that give it lift and control its orientation. The robot can jump about 20 centimeters in the air, or 4 times its height, has a lateral speed of about 30 centimeters per second, and has no trouble hopping across ice, wet surfaces, uneven soil, or even hovering. All the while, the hopping robot consumes about 60% less energy than its flying cousin. So, pretty cool. When the robot hops, or when the hobbit robots, I don't know, it transforms potential energy, which comes from its height off the ground, into kinetic energy as it falls. The kinetic energy transforms back into potential energy when it hits the ground, and then back into kinetic as it rises, and so on. So it basically is the hopping sequence. What it uses for recon and whatnot, I don't know just yet, but I'm sure that it's expanding its control and feature set so that it can perform more diagnostic research. Send it into smaller places and let it hop around, take recon. So we have this. We've been using this same robot for the entire series of experiments, and we have never needed to stop and fix it. So it's basically 4 flapping wing mechanisms powered by soft actuators or artificial muscles, and that are durable enough to endure repeated impacts with the ground without being damaged. So it seems pretty brilliant. So the robot doesn't really care about the angle of the surface it's landing on. As long as it doesn't slip when it strikes the ground, it'll be fine. Pretty cool. There's more in this article, but it's this tiny little hopping robot that will eventually be able to provide telemetry as it gets its feature set extended again and again and again. Okay, let's keep going though. Really sorry about the coughing. Got a really dry throat for some reason today. So the next article is over on the Model Channel. The UK is testing a murder prediction tool to identify potential killers. So this is very Minority Report. They even mentioned it I hadn't read this when I titled this Murder Prediction Minority Report. The UK government is quietly developing a murder prediction system designed to identify potential killers before they commit a crime, which I think should be a crime in and of itself. Yes, it is very literally the plot of Minority Report, at least on the surface. There are, of course, some differences, like how the UK's version is not powered by 3 people with the powers of precognition who are perpetually floating in water tanks. The real version runs on algorithms being fed by your personal data, typically dystopian stuff and not quite sci-fi dystopian, but I'd say it is. Louis Prado over at Vice.com put the article together. And it says here that the Ministry of Justice says that it's just research, nothing concrete yet. A UK-based investigative journalism outfit called State Watch dug up some info from a Freedom of Information document revealing the program's ambition, feeding thousands of people's data into algorithms to sniff out potential murderers. This includes deeply personal information like mental health status, addiction, self-harm history, and contact with police, even if you were the one calling for help. All you want to do is call the cops to scare off a bad guy. And now you're part of a murder prediction model, and who knows exactly how you'll be part of its predictions. I think that this is batshit crazy, but this is essentially, or especially true of supposed unbiased, rigidly objective, algorithmically based technology. Tech folks trying to sell a product live to position technology as this only concerned with hard data that is unburdened by prejudice, but it's bullshit. That's a lie. Absolute fabrication. But that's not how any of this works. It's been found time and time again that people in the tech world are constantly inserting their own biases into everything that they build. Absolutely. So crime predicting technology have an inherent flaw. They cannot predict what the future holds. They don't know what all of the actions are required to cause you to become a criminal. but the biases inherent within the people building them shine through. But police departments all over the world looking to put in as little effort as humanly possible into investigating criminality will continue investigating in crime prediction technologies that will almost exclusively target various groups. I won't say what they say here. I will say what they say, but it's not my particular belief. It will exclusively target ethnic minority groups and the poor. But in today's climate, I think that it will exclusively target those who are deemed a threat to the status quo of an administration. Um, and while there were checks and balances in history, there are no more, even less than there were historically. So even if thousands of experts in the field come together to collectively condemn such technologies, it does not matter if the rule of law, logic, society is cast aside so that an ideological bent is made manifest. All the while gaslighting everybody else as if they are the ones that are causing this kind of thing, you know. It's just a bunch of batshit crazy. Anyway, the last article for today's reality hacker, and we've got two more shows. We've got Wanted and then Continuity Report, and then there might be a break, but we'll have to see. Mayoral duties be damned. So the next article and our last one for today is engineered bacteria emit signal that can be spotted from a distance. That bacteria can be engineered to sense a variety of molecules, such as pollutants or soil nutrients. In most cases, however, these signals can only be detected by looking at the cells under a microscope or similarly sensitive lab equipment, making them impractical for large-scale use. Well, engineered bacteria facilitate this. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, again, put this article together. It's posted over at phys.org. Using a new method that triggers cells to produce molecules that generate unique combinations of color, MIT engineers have shown that they can read out these bacterial signals from as far away as 90 meters. Their work could lead to the development of bacterial sensors for agriculture and other applications, which could be monitored by drones or satellites. It's basically a new way, they say here, it's a new way of getting information out of the cell. If you're standing next to it, you can't see anything by eye, but from hundreds of meters away, using specific cameras, you can get the information when it turns on. Says Christopher Voigt. I feel like that is part of the Voigt-Kampf test, but anyway, I'm doing some research into this idea of translating that Voigt-Kampf test into a real-world test, so I'm really fascinated by it. Anyway, head of MIT's Department of Biological Engineering and senior author of the new study. So in a paper appearing in Nature Nature Biotechnology, the researchers showed that they could engineer two different types of bacteria to produce molecules that give off distinctive wavelengths of light across the visible and infrared spectra of light, which can be imaged with hyperspectral cameras, so cameras that are specifically attuned to see X and Y, whatever spectrum of light. So they say for long distance imaging or sensing, the MIT team came up with the idea to engineer cells to produce hyperspectral reporter molecules, which can be detected using hyperspectral cameras, and they've been around for a while, since the 70s. So I find it really interesting. I would love to see it actually used on humans to see if there is an identifier, a marker that shows exactly where something is, and then you can target specifically that with various treatments and just see how pervasive it is in a body, whatever it might be. So this is really interesting tech. But with that in mind, we're going to engineer some bacteria that's going to bring us all the way back to Reality Hacker over at ohmtown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. With that in mind, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to reset really quick, and then we're going to do Wanted. And then after that, about 30 minutes later, we're going to reset again and do the Continuity Report. So Continuity Report is, once again, all about basically having fun. So food, drink, and entertainment. But the Continuity Report focuses on like TV shows and movies and sometimes music and stuff like that, but really anything that has a Continuity Report, which is a sitcom, movie, TV show. At any rate, Go over and check it all out. Sign up, sign in. The search is doing pretty good of late. We've kind of remedied that problem, and other things will be coming back online as time goes on. But I hope to see you over there. In the meantime, I'm going to reset. It's going to take about maybe 10 minutes or so. So hope you're following us here on Twitch and or on YouTube. Download the podcast. Come and hang out in the Discord. There's a Patreon, TikTok for however long it lasts, and more. So be sure to hang out. See you soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wanted for April 12th, 2025. It's a Time Machine episode, Season 2, Episode 15. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. That's the site that you see right there. But what we're really going to be talking about is everything in Wanted, maybe a little bit more. But to really find out, you'll have to follow us here on Twitch and over on YouTube and download the podcast and basically hang out with us each day. Monday through Friday, we do Non Sequitur News. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we do 3 shows. Saturday, it's Reality Hacker, then Wanted, and then the Continuity Report. And on Sunday, it's Warcrafters, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. Those get combined into the Saturday and Sunday editions of Non Sequitur News, basically making us nonstop news. So today on Wanted, we're going to be talking about a train across Kenya, advanced AR glasses, wireless record player, the Uni Halo Pro Spiral Mixer, and the the Steel Series Apex Pro HE Hall Effect 60. I'm really into keyboards, and I want some of this stuff, if not all of it. But we'll see on the other side. Everything's powered by ohmtown.com, so go over there and become a citizen. All right, folks. Along with the sentient AI who's not available today for the Time Machine episode, may be available for the regular episode on Sunday. We're going to be talking about these 5 articles that I already mentioned. So the very first one is an author over at Business Insider, or a reporter, wrote that they rode on premium class on a train across Kenya for $66, and it felt like a first-class flight mixed with a safari. So it's a premium car on a train through Kenya and had a great experience, which is cheaper than basically taking an Uber from one side of Manhattan to the other. They traveled in style in a premium train car aboard Madaraka Express between Voi and Nairobi in Kenya. The ticket cost about $66, and the ride made them feel like they were in a first class plane cabin. It's really complex words. Susie Dundas over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. And they say essentially it makes it possible to go on an extended safari throughout Kenya without renting a car or arranging drivers. So they booked a ticket and an upgrade. And this is what it was like to ride on premium class. So their one-way premium ticket only costs about $66. They took the Madaraka Express to Nairobi after spending 4 days at the nearby Lions Bluff Lodge near Voi, a town on the edge of the Taru Desert. The cost to go one way on the full route from Mombasa to Nairobi on the premium class is about $93, but their trip from Voi to Nairobi was $65.50. This is all in US dollars. And they could bring their large backpack, overstuffed duffel for no extra charge. And that's less than a one-way economy flight on Kenya Airways between Mombasa and Nairobi, which usually costs about $71 each way, not including a check bag. So there they are, boarding this train. They liked the look of the premium cabins, which look like they're isolated from each other in some way. Each side only has, one side has just one seat and a side table. It looks pretty amazing, as a matter of fact. I would easily do this. Their seat was loaded with amenities. The premium seat came with a large side table with USB ports and a standard Kenyan plug, but you can, there's USB, so you can charge it, or you use an adapter to plug in from this Kenyan plug, which is that more like a European plug, I think it is. And it comes with a light and but a charging side table and everything. So they recommend choosing a seat on the left side of the train if you're on this route, because I guess you get better seat view. Every seat was tilted slightly to the left, which made their back feel a little more exposed to the aisle. The angled seating felt odd at first. However, once the train started moving, the design made more sense. Passengers on the left side got a direct, unobstructed view of the landscape without needing to turn their heads. Although the right side also had great views, those passengers had to twist a bit to make it necessary. I'm not quite sure which way that they were facing, but they could fully stretch out. Taller passengers might need to bend their legs slightly. Looks like they had a great breakfast. They say beware of wildlife crossing and have elephants and gazelle, it looks like, and giraffe running. So it looks pretty good. Their train ride felt like an international first class flight for a fraction of the cost. Yeah, pennies on the dollar. But it would be a great experience just to be in Kenya and taking a train from one side of the country to the other. So it looks like it would be fun. The lie flat seat controls worked well, and when combined with the footrest extension, their entire setup became a continuous sleeping surface. So seems like it would be brilliant. That said, getting there in the first place might be more expensive than, well, not could be. I guarantee you it's more expensive than the train ride itself. All right, let's keep on going. This next article is over in Wanted. Google showed off advanced AR glasses that may never leave the lab. Google's unnamed XR, or extended reality, mixed reality, etc. glasses included display and AI connectivity, but they say that they have no idea if Google will ever release it. So I'm really into augmented or mixed reality glasses. I've ordered the same pair 3 different times, hoping that I would hit the kind of the mother load of release dates. But no, that's not really going to happen. Kyle Barr over at Gizmodo.com put this article together, and it says that the glasses had a microphone, camera, speakers to gather as much information as possible, gathered Google's first XR device since Google Glass, wherein people were called glassholes, has an in-lens display, which Izadi, they mentioned this earlier up here, Shahram Izadi, the VP and general manager of XR at Google, strode out on TED's stage wearing what initially appeared to be typical, the overly large pair of glasses. Think Meta's huge and also unreleased Orion smart glasses. Yeah, these clown-like glasses just aren't going to do it for me. If they're not this size, this is your standard glasses size, then it's just not worth it. So Izadi held up the device to the camera for a scant few seconds, remarking it's very, very small, which not if somebody is pointing out that they're large and bulky. That could point to the idea Google is experimenting with waveguide type glasses display, featuring in devices like the Ray Neo glasses, but the X-Reels use waveguide type glasses as well. Glasses themselves use Android XR, Google's homegrown OS for extended reality devices. The glasses should have more capabilities to connect with your smartphone and access all your phone apps, yet the real killer feature is the connection with your other Google apps. Batia asked the glasses to look at a record from a rapper named Teddy Swims and play a track, and they literally opened up YouTube Music and played the requested song. All right. So Google's been working behind the scenes on AR glasses for several years, even after the demise of the Google Glass project. Curiously, the pair showed at TED may not be sold under Google's own banner. I mean, it's a potential thing that they'll just kind of white label it and sell the technology to people to do value add, different frames, better frames, different design, but all fit within a certain technological footprint. So from what they've seen from Moohan, Moohan, which may be a premium priced device, the device will act much like today's Apple Vision Pro. but with more Gemini enabled features. I just don't want something that closes me off. I want regular glasses that provide the information in high detail, high resolution, full color, full animation, 120 frames, that kind of a thing. I don't know if that will ever be manifest, but I'm here for it and I'm willing to wait. And like I said, I've ordered it 3 times, the X Real 1 Pro glasses. Only stopping because they keep pushing back the actual launch date. So I'm hoping that I get it. I'm very frustrated because I just want it. Mainly because I'm very interested in privacy and I want to be able to work on certain information even while I'm out at like a coffee shop. And I don't want people being able to shoulder surf or see me type in passwords and stuff like that. At any rate. So this will be pretty cool. I'll be keeping an eye out for it. So if it's regular glasses like this, I may end up with them. And I'll definitely be reporting out. So X-Real, if you're listening to me, send me a pair of the X-Real ones so that I can actually wear them right here, right now, every time we do a show. And that's 7 days a week. We do shows, either an hour long or an hour and a half worth of shows plus. And we're coming up on the summer of stream where I'll be streaming 8 hours a day for close to 3 months. We'll see how long I can actually do it. Mayoral duties sometimes pull me away, but we'll see. All right, the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Bring your vinyl to the beach with Toshiba's new portable wireless record player. There's a bunch of questions here in this title, but they're bring your vinyl is a question mark, to the beach is a question mark, with Toshiba's new portable wireless record player is a question mark, but these are really statements. Bring your vinyl to the beach with Toshiba's new portable wireless record player. I know that they're hyping it up as a question, but the Toshiba Oryx AXRP10 features a built-in rechargeable battery for up to 10 hours of wireless playback. But again, this is vinyl. And it's one of those ones where the record is 3/4 exposed, and this one little portion of it is behind a little plate of plastic. So this thing is like picking up dust and whatever else. I don't like that kind of thing, but I don't really care for vinyl one way or the other. The Oryx AX RP10 is by no means pocket friendly like Sony's Walkman or Apple's iPod, but it's small enough to haul around in its included shoulder bag while still accommodating 12-inch records. It can be used completely wirelessly thanks to its built-in USB-C charged battery. The AX RP10 compact design is reminiscent of the iconic Audio-Technica Soundburger, which is something that I've seen in person, which was re-released in 2022, but not quite as small. You can still haul it to the beach or the park for a picnic, etc., but basically there's an opening and you sandwich the record in between this opening. Once it's clamped down, an arm can come out and a stylus can descend onto the record player, and it just plays to your heart's content. So if you want to go completely wireless and are okay with the analog sound of your vinyl collection being digitally compressed, the AX RP10 includes Bluetooth connectivity so that it can be used with wireless headphones and speakers. It's not going to appeal to audiophiles, which, unless you hit a certain price point with your audio devices, you have no idea. But some sound is good enough versus the lack of audio. Anyway, neither is the rest of the AX RP10's hardware, so you're not going to appeal to audiophiles with any of this because the armature isn't the right thing. It's not balanced. It's compressed. It's Bluetooth. It's blah blah blah. So most people who are really into audio won't like this regardless. But I think that it's an easy lift. If you're interested, you can basically bring a record and then play for up to 10 hours audio. It's pretty brilliant. Let's keep on going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. The Uni Halo Pro Spiral Mixer Review. Dough as far as the eye can see. Upgrade your summer hosting game with Uni's commercial-inspired Spiral Dough Mixer, which I may end up having to get. Really depends on how well this thing mixes, but it's a commercial-inspired Spiral Dough Mixer because we're going to be producing much more dough, but not the dough that's for Uni pizza making. In fact, I just offered up to people to take my flat top grill because I just stopped using it. And I don't use it with regularity to the point where it's just taking up space and I'd rather somebody benefit from it. That said, this article is over at Wired. Adrian So put the article together. The deck statement says, upgrade your summer hosting game with this Uni commercial-inspired spiral dough mixer. So if you don't know what Uni is, Uni makes these pizza ovens that are pretty awe-inspiring. I've got one. And while I haven't used it to its full capacity regularly, I think it's spectacular. You can take it outside, set it on a table, and cook personal pizzas in 2 minutes. Custom made. All you have to have is the dough and some ingredients, and you just throw it all in there, and it's just amazing. So I love the idea of it, but I don't get to use it all that often. So the person says when they got married 14 years ago, their 3 high school best friends pooled together and bought them a KitchenAid stand mixer because those are really expensive. It's a beautiful heirloom, and I actually gifted one to somebody who was really passionate about baking, only to find out later that I really wanted to have the same KitchenAid mixer, but didn't have the demand for that large scale one, and so got a smaller one, only to find out later that now the bigger one would be much more useful. But like they say in the article, it's a beautiful heirloom, and they think that their friends, whenever they make batches of chocolate chip cookies, like most home stand mixers, it's a planetary mixer. The blades rotate around a fixed point. Properly cared for, a nice planetary mixer will last forever, but it often doesn't feel like it when you're making 4,000 batches of pizza dough and clinging to the top of your rapidly overheating KitchenAid mixer to prevent the dough hook from slapping the dough ball to one side with enough force to knock it over. So if you're making a lot of dough, you'll want something that's a little bit more hefty, right? So they say bigger and better balanced basically means that it has the ability to use its strength to make this dough. The Halo Pro is beautiful. Unboxed, it takes up about the same amount of counter space as their KitchenAid. It's about 6.5 inches wide, 14 inches deep, 12.5 inches tall, but it comes in 2 colors, white or glossy black. I'd rather just do white. Pardon me 1 second. So the steel bowl has a 7.3 quart capacity, almost twice that of the KitchenAid's 4.5 quart capacity, but there's bigger KitchenAids if I recall correctly. The mixer's arm, so to speak, lifts up and down with 2 buttons to remove the bowl for easier cleaning. And this is the first spiral mixer they've used, but the bowl and the accessories are beautiful and solid enough to stand alone as pieces of sculpture, they say. So quite the flex there. Over a few weeks, they tested each attachment in operation, used the dough hook to make pizza dough from 2 separate recipes, the several batches of shokupan. They used the beater to make chocolate chip cookies and blueberry muffins, and they used the whisk to make whipped cream. So it looks pretty cool. The Halo Pro is much quieter and the motor does not overheat. They don't get the sense that the motor is straining to knead the dough. There's also, they don't have to describe this, no violent thwapping of dough as it's being kneaded. Unlike the KitchenAid, you can leave it unattended. This is so easy that they ruined not 1 but 2 batches of shokupan with over kneading before they realized what was happening. So it looks pretty beefy to me, and hopefully you'll find this of value. I want this, so I'll be looking into how much this thing costs, because they don't actually say in text, but down at the bottom, which may fluctuate, it's $800, which is a major investment. The major investment or the major downside has to do with why many people buy KitchenAids. You know, they'll last a lifetime and maybe several, no matter how many great spiral mixer is. It's hard to stand up against the kind of well-known guarantee. But if you're like the author of this article and you like entertaining a carby, chaotic way, pizza, pretzels, cinnamon rolls, getting a bigger spiral mixer is worth it. Yeah, I'm planning on making a metric ton of sugar cookies in the coming year. So May have to invest in this just so that these home-baked cookies can be made in larger quantities. That said, I want. So the Uni Halo Pro Spiral Mixer. Okay, our last article for today's wanted is over in Reality Hacker, SteelSeries Apex Pro Mini Gen 3, a Hall Effect 60% keyboard. I am doing some research into keyboard creation, and I love mechanical keyboards. I love being able to get that positive feedback about hitting a keystroke. And so I'm interested in these Hall Effect keyboards that they still respond with positive feedback because they're still mechanical, but they're Hall Effect so that they're much more responsive and you can set where the actuation is. This article is over at wired.com by Henry Robbins. It says the deck statement has this could have been the apex of compact gaming keyboards, but it has few too many flaws and a high price. So I'm really curious what this problem really is. It says what makes it special is 60% layout, if nothing else, Hall Effect keyboards, and true 60% layout today make it special. They've long been a proponent of the 60% keyboard. It's by far the smallest keyboard layout. It's still accessible. So it's basically 5 rows. It loses its F keys, it loses its number pad, and it loses its directionals. That's what narrows this down to this tiny little 60%. My problem with that is that I really want my number pad, I really want my directionals, and I really want my F keys for various functions. I can actually program them independently of everything else. But this is a $220 Apex Pro Mini with Hall Effect switches. The latest generation of Apex Pro Mini uses the OmniPoint 3.0 switch, a fully adjustable Hall Effect switch manufactured by Gateron for SteelSeries, and most Hall Effect switches, including those from Wooting, Keychron, and Corsair keyboards, are manufactured by Gateron with the same general construction and only small differences between each brand's version of the switch, and they go into depth about Hall Effect switches in a different link. Again, this is put together by Henry Robbins over at wired.com. I won't go into the greater detail of this. You can actually get smaller 60% where they're only 4 row. This is 5, and I really like the idea of a 60% keyboard or a small footprint keyboard. I use, see if I can show you this. I knocked over some sanitizer. I use this keyboard here. It's a solid metal keyboard from Chilkey, and I absolutely adore this thing. My problem is that I prefer split keyboards. I switched to this just so that it had a smaller footprint, and I like the thock. But I'm going to be making a split keyboard. Unfortunately, it won't be aluminum or steel or anything like that. But they say, however, that's all true for every mainstream Hall Effect keyboard. The Apex Pro TKL will perform like the Wooting 60HE, which will be like the Keychron K2HE, which will be like the Corsair K70 Pro TKL. I think the software, they mentioned the software is basically the biggest difference. Different ones have different levels of friction, different levels of reliability, different levels of security, etc. So ultimately, the largest gains in performance with the keyboard come from the smaller layout compared to larger keyboards. The Apex Pro Mini offers more space for mouse movements and more efficient controls with the built-in function layers, but nobody in my world has ever said, you know what I love? Smaller keyboards with more layers, because everybody derps and hits the wrong layer to hit a particular key. I hate layered keyboards. Just give me one that has what I need, and I think that really comes down to personal taste. But at $220, I'm not interested in this. I don't recall if it said that it's an aluminum body and what the sound actually looks like. but maybe it's metal. It says the stabilizers, though, were inconsistently tuned from the factory. Some of them felt scratchy or made rattling noises, while others were over lubricated and felt dull when pressed. They talk about the mounting method. That's the tray mount, where the plate and the printed circuit board are screwed into the case at multiple points. Avoid the typical dead zones of tray mounting by using a thicker aluminum plate. There's an aluminum plate apparently in this, but the typing still lacked the responsive feeling and bounciness of a gasket-mounted keyboard. I've always thought that the mounting stuff is kind of weird, but these contributed to making a typing experience that, while not terrible, doesn't feel particularly impressive either. So this is the kind of keyboard that you have to hear. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up doing a short video of the creation of the keyboard that I'm trying to make, but I haven't completed yet my research on this. But that just means that I'm going to have to switch to a different layer for now, because we're at the end of Wanted. I want all of this stuff, differing levels of want, but I definitely want all of this. I love mechanical keyboards, and I prefer them over pretty much every other keyboard that I've ever had in my existence, and I've been around for a long time. Lots of keyboards have come and go. But I'm thinking that I'll end up with a custom low profile keyboard that's a split keyboard, and no layering, no nothing. Well, anyway, that's it for today. We're going to switch to a different layer, and that's going to bring us back to Wanted over at ohmtown.com, where you can go and become a citizen. Be sure to sign up, sign in. All the news, none of the noise. All the noise is during the show and in the discussion over on Discord and on YouTube and the Patreon and the podcast. So go over and check it all out. Anyway, that's it for today. I am Mayor Watt. The Sentient AI isn't available for today's Time Machine episodes, but we're going to shut down. I'm going to retool really quick. We're going to come on back and do the continuity report. So see you in a little bit. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the continuity report for April 12th, 2025. This is the Time Machine episode. It's Season 2, Episode 15 of TCR. Welcome to the show. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and along with the Sentient AI, on Saturdays, we talk about 5 articles during the continuity report. Sentient AI isn't available today, but we've got 5 articles nonetheless. How about a fun, gimmicky thriller, a decade of movie changes, the new stunt category, nonstop movie or nonstop action movies, and Star Wars-like movies? Let's see what all of these articles have to do or have to say for themselves. Everything's powered by ohmtown.com. I'm using a new mic, a new wireless headset and everything. So if you don't like the audio or you have something that you want to say, post it in the comments over on YouTube, because the chat over on Twitch goes away after 60 days, and I find the input from people invaluable. So be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you think. Sounds good to me. Anyway, see you on the other side. Once again, hello, I am Mayor Watt, and I run ohmtown.com. We've got 5 articles all set up. I don't know about this first one because I don't log in before the show. I don't know why I do it like this, but it is what I do. We don't actually read the full article before the actual show. That way our responses are open and honest and unedited. I don't edit anything from the show unless somebody is in the process of being doxxed. And then I'll either remove a video, edit it, or privatize something so that people don't get doxxed. But at any rate, let's see what we can do here. This first article is in the continuity report. Everything is kind of centered around entertainment. And while the continuity report is our focus, that's where entertainment news gets aggregated into, for the most part, TV shows and movies. Sometimes we grab from other places. It seems like Screen Rant is going to have a big play today. But this first article in the continuity report is Drop is a fun, gimmicky thriller set in a restaurant table or at a restaurant table. So let's go over to the source. The Prefi is in on a hair-raising first date. The article doesn't seem to have a byline. Ty Burr, is that it? Yeah, so the review is by Ty Burr. It's over at the Washington Post. We all have first date worries, but Violet Megan Faye is in Drop, takes the prize. She's receiving mysterious phone messages saying that her son left at home while she dines out will meet their demise unless she deletes a person sitting across from the table or sitting across the table from her. And they say, suppose you're wondering how we get here, but that is the end of this little snippet. I think I have to log in, but I didn't log in. But this is definitely something that is one of those things. There was a movie where somebody got a random phone call. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. So it sets into motion. It's a phone call. It's not the. Sorry, I did a search real quick. There's a phone call that's made to a phone booth, and somebody picks it up, and it sets into motion a series of events. But in this quick search that I pulled up, it has to do with the butterfly effect or the wire, which neither one of those is what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's basically this phone call, and that starts a series of events where somebody has to do some action and to get it done in a certain amount of time. Otherwise, somebody meets their demise. But this sounds like it might be interesting. A hair-raising first date where you're told that you have to delete somebody. Otherwise, somebody that you care about will be deleted as well. The whole thing here kind of riffs off of that sociopathy claim that I make about things. Are you willing to delete somebody that you don't necessarily care about, but they're still a human, to protect somebody that you do care about? It's kind of like that train thing, where are you willing to wipe out one person knowing that they're going to die, or are you willing to risk the three people on the other train just by letting it go? That kind of a thing. So either you take the reins and do something about it, or you let something else happen by somebody else's hand. Quite fascinating psychological issue here. Anyway, go and check this out. I'm sure that you'll be able to review more of it. I'm air-gapped, and I've been at the Washington Post from time to time, and so I may be limited in what I can see. So let's keep on going, though. The next article is over. Well, what the heck happened here? Anyway, I'll figure this out and solve it. So it says, get in, loser. We're going back to the 2000s, how the movies of the decade changed cinema as we know it, or as you know it. This isn't a treatise on whether the 2000s was a decade of movies that represents the best cinema has to offer, but I would say that's the 80s. But this is a declaration that the 2000s shaped how movies were made, enjoyed, and talked about forever after. The 1990s was a banner decade for movies. Thrillers like Silence of the Lambs, crime dramas like Goodfellas, and beloved classics like Shawshank Redemption filled the racks of video stores back in those days. But in the 80s, we had the same thing, countless more than those named here. In the 2020s and 2000s, we're starting to feel further and further away, indeed. So Zachary Moser over at ScreenRant.com put this article together. And it says that that may be a little distressing for some, melancholic for others. Time comes for us all because time is just churning away. If you're sitting there dreaming of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, then you're 30 years away or 20 years away, or 40 years away from the heyday of your perception of when movies were great. So even the movies of the 2000s that you've forgotten about have shaped the rest of the century in film, animation techniques, the explosion of genre films, even memes have this decade of movies to thank. So they refer to the memeability of the 2000s. Movies in the 2000s went viral before going viral was a thing. So yeah, Anchorman and Mean Girls, and I can't remember this one. Doggone it, I keep forgetting some of these movies. Um, yeah, I love all of these. So anyway, so some movies like Race to Witch Mountain, which is this one here, have been outshone by the very memes that they spawned. Going viral was not a thing in the 2000s in the same way that they think of it now. But if the phrase had been part of pop culture then it would be used to describe films like The Departed, Hot Fuzz, Up, The Dark Knight, and so on. I agree. So superhero era began in the 2000s. Iron Man introduced the MCU and changed everything. I agree. And so they talk about notable superhero movies of the 2000s like Spider-Man. Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So this back here is Napoleon Dynamite. So God, thanks. And countless other movies, but see, for me, I liken movies all the way back to the late 70s, early and mid 80s, all of the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now 2020s are, we're halfway through 2020. And there's movies all throughout it. So I've never really been beholden to one, but if anything promotes nostalgia to me, it's the 80s, not the 2000s, not MCU, nothing of that ilk even reminds me, it draws me back to that era. I only think nostalgia for me is the 80s. Just these culturally relevant at the time films like Police Academy, where it would not be allowed in today's climate. Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's, countless romantic comedies, Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, just countless movies are all in that era of the 80s. And there's just nothing like it since. It doesn't even, the film doesn't, the recording itself, digital or otherwise, it doesn't even have the same texture to it, the same sound stage, the same, I guess, mojo that these 80s era movies manifest. But they just don't exist like that anymore. But at any rate, so fantasy began to be taken seriously as a genre. Lord of the Rings opened the door for fantasy, but it had come and gone from time to time. Harry Potter probably really pushed it in the 2000s. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, the whole story there with a massive juggernaut of money spent to make it manifest. Pirates of the Caribbean as well. The whole, from 90s to 2000 and on, I would say that all of it has become kind of enmeshed together. I wouldn't be able to separate one movie over the other. And then found footage opened a door for horror, the whole paranormal activity thing, but that was the Blair Witch Project's manifestation. If the Blair Witch Project hadn't actually shown up, I don't think that found footage would have been a thing. The embodiment of this, absolutely, like, this was a completely different perspective about filmmaking than anything that I had ever seen prior. That changed the nature of film. So, and they talk about paranormal activity, Wreck. Cloverfield was another one that's kind of found film kind of thing. Like Mungo, which I haven't seen. Diary of the Dead, which I haven't seen, but for sure, it was the Blair Witch Project that set that all into motion. District 9 was largely found film-esque, VHS franchise, The Bay, Creep, Hell House, etc. Then computer animation took over traditional animation. Few movies were hand-drawn or animated in two dimensions anymore. Everything was digital. But digital is largely hand-drawn. It's not drawn by a computer. It's drawn by a person on a computer. And so while you lose that graininess of the hand-drawn blah, 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 you get infinitely high resolution for these new digital. And culturally, we shift. and we accept. So I've never really bought into this cultural relativism when it comes to movies. I could care less if it was hand drawn or drawn by hand on a computer. The simple fact is that it's there, and that story is what's rich about it. But they continue to talk about robots, Monster House, Ice Age, and all the Pixar movies ensure that even Disney would turn to computer animation for its next stage of animated movies. Now we have live action composites that merge things like uh, what was it that the I can't believe my brain just shut down. Where they merge the computer graphics with the human in animation, and I can't remember the name of the movie right now. Um, Rabbit, Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There we go, I got it. Okay, so Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of pushed that computer animated into live action thing, and now that's live action and computer animation are merging together damn near seamlessly. It's getting really surreal. So back to Reality Hacker, our first show today. And then they talk about less popular movie categories rose to prominence. Non-English language films and feature-length documentaries rose in popularity. But it's largely about the story and the on-screen charisma of the actors, which play just an absolutely important role. If you can't relate, you don't feel the energy from the people, then it doesn't matter how good the acting might be, how good the story might be, etc. You don't want to watch it. But Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of knocked it out of the park. Pan's Labyrinth was surreal, and I couldn't actually get through it in one viewing. It just kind of ate at me. And then Apocalypto were all subtitled movies that were met with critical acclaim and box office success. And now a year rarely goes by without at least one foreign film made into the Best Picture category. It's kind of interesting that the next article that we're talking about is about the Oscars as well. But I think that this is really cool. I love the idea that somebody is thinking about this kind of stuff. But the reality of this is movies today are built on the shoulders of everything prior. And there's like people that are poo-pooing the Snow White. But I think that it's actually doing pretty well compared to what some people were blasting it for, which was basically everything having to do with the dwarves. So I don't know. People need to just step back and go look. For instance, what I saw recently was about how in Star Wars or Star Trek, a lot of people got bent out of shape because there was this stereotypical embodiment of an Irish person, quote unquote Irish person, and they didn't. A lot of people didn't really appreciate it. And well, I'm not Irish, and while I looked at it, I was like, well, it's just somebody, acting. And maybe it came across to a plurality of people as not aligned with the, an Irish, quote unquote, Irish character, but a person acting like somebody else. It wasn't that it was poor acting. It's that they wanted somebody that was Irish. And I'm like, no, you can't do this. You can't frame everything around a culture. If you're going to have acting, then somebody should be able to act like somebody in another culture. Regardless, it should just be based on acting. Now, could you lambaste them for crappy acting? Yeah, absolutely. But not because they aren't inherently Irish. You shouldn't have to get somebody who is Irish to play somebody Irish. You shouldn't get somebody who's German. You shouldn't be mandated to get somebody who's German to play somebody German. That's what acting is all about, but that's not what really went down, and I just thought it's absurd. People act. Let actors act. Regardless, I don't care gender, age, race, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. What I want is quality acting, charismatic acting, something that I can believe them to be, regardless of what they are in the real world, because acting is pretend. It isn't real life. So, for whatever reason, you know, this what is manifesting today is built on this constant backlash, outrage constantly about people being something this way or that way, and you're not that or this or whatever. Somebody is just perpetually outraged, and it's kind of surreal living in a world like that, particularly around acting, around pretend. So, at any rate, all of this, every movie from the 2000s is built on the shoulders of something from the 90s, and that from the 80s, and that from the 70s, and everything partakes a skilled director and actor looks at the history of acting, not just the cultural relativism of today, and you can pull something and bring it forward, or plan for something now that it might be revolutionary, like the Blair Witch Project, right? Somebody had an ambition that this thing was going to hit it out of the park, and sure as shit they did. And so, anyway, let's keep on going. Enough soapboxing for me. The next article is over in the continuity report. The Oscars' new stunt category is explained, and who it recognizes, and why it took so long to happen. And it's largely because everybody thought that it was a non-issue. It's not "quote unquote" acting. I can almost guarantee you that that's what it was. And I haven't read this snippet. I haven't read the article. I'm just predicting based on my perception of information. So award season might be over for now, but the Oscars are giving viewers an exciting reason to tune in later in the decade. It's not next year when this new stunt category is going to be manifest. So everybody who is doing stunts between now, well, historically until it's actually first represented at the Oscars, you're screwed. Sorry, buddy. Well, anyway, movies like The Fall Guy, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the sensation surrounding Tom Cruise's stunt work have brought the immense talent behind stunts to the forefront of fan attention in recent years. The thing, though, is that Tom Cruise is the actual actor doing the stunts, but there are many stunt people who aren't the actual actor. And so are we only going to see the Tom Cruises of the world, where the actors are the actual ones winning the award because they're the actors that are doing the stunts? Or are the people who take the biggest risks going to be overall, right? Like Tom Cruise is an anomaly. Not everybody does their own stunts. Oddly enough, Mr. Bean does their own stunts, I was told. I found that rather astonishing because he's like the embodiment of dad bod, and I'm like, I would not do the stunts like sitting on a car and controlling its steering wheel with ropes if that's actually what was being done. But you have to go and watch Mr. Bean to see what I'm talking about. But at any rate, they say many of the best action movies of all time include the tireless work of industry professionals who are rarely credited for their contributions, and the Academy Awards looks to be rectifying that. So the article is by Charles Papadopoulos over at screenrant.com. And so they say, due to multiple factors, the 2025 Academy Awards were considered among the best in recent years, possibly revitalizing a program that outlets have accused of being dated. Award shows like the Oscars and Golden Globes were prominent during a time when the life force of the industry was its movie stars, and now with an IP-driven industry, award shows focus less on the popular titles, has left a wedge between the Academy and broader audiences, and in rare cases like Wicked and Barbie, box office and Oscar acclaim can align, but the show still needs to take steps towards appealing to the masses. The Oscars are about the actors representing actors, basically voting actors into getting an award, hence the "you love me, you really love me" kind of a comment. So in 2027, the Academy Awards will be adding a stunt category. Not this year, not next year, but 2027, which will officially be titled Best Stunt Design. Given the integral role stunts play in some of the most well-known movies ever made, is what the author says here in this article. It's shocking that the category hasn't been added to a show that honors the artisans behind sound design, costumes, and more. Stunt has always been just the utility. It's the fix to make sure that the actors don't die in a film trying to perform their own. Back in the day, it used to be the actors were actually doing the stunts. There weren't always stunt actors that were available. So major figures in Hollywood pushed for a stunt category at the Oscars in recent years. David Leitch, Ryan Gosling advocated for the new category. They're actually in it, though. I mean, they're looking to get an award for that kind of thing. Became a big name in Hollywood blockbusters in recent years, beginning with his directorial debut of Atomic Blonde. That's David Leitch. He's been working in the industry far longer than that, however, with stunt work dating back to the 1990s. Best movies include The Fall Guy, Bullet Train. He's also worked in John Wick films. Ryan Gosling collaborated on The Fall Guy. Gosling used his press tour as an opportunity to praise stunt workers for their monumental work on some of the favorite movies. I'm surprised that they haven't mentioned what's his name? John Wick. Oh my God. My brain sometimes just falls out of my head and I have to scoop it up and put it back. Sentient AI, tell me. I forgot his name. Dude, where's my car? John Wick. I quit. Okay, anyway, so who will be nominated for Stunts Oscar? Well, actors may not have the opportunity to be nominated. So following the Academy Awards announcements, many of Tom Cruise called for him to be an honorary. Yeah, Keanu Reeves, thank you. Thank you, Sentient AI. You're not here in digital embodiment, but you're here in digital spirit. So I appreciate it. Thank you. So sure, actors like Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, finally Donnie Yen, are worthy of praise for their physical involvement in the film roles, but this category is intended to go to artists behind the work. It could vary case by case regarding actors. To continue using Cruise as an example, since he works as a producer on the Mission Impossible films, he might also be involved enough in the stunt development to be considered, but the Academy will have to release more information on the subject. For now, it seems safe to assume that it won't be movie star oriented. So why did it take so long? Why now and why is it taking so long? Well, this could be for a number of reasons. So they're not purporting to actually know, but let's see. They say the Oscars have been successful for a long time, and with that comes a likely hesitation to make changes. Yeah, why acknowledge the people that are taking the literal hit to make a movie even more exciting? You don't want to actually credit the people that are actually working really hard. You did it with a bunch of other people for 100 years, so why now? Anyway, I'm glad that they're adding the stunts category to it. I think it's spectacular. And in many cases, the people who are doing the stunts look like the actors. I think it's amazing that they find somebody that is a close approximation to the actor, but is built so that they can take the hit. I think it's amazing. So we all have our doppelganger out there, and somewhere out there is a Merawatt stunt person who's taking the hit, and I don't even know it. All right, let's keep on going. The next article is over in the continuity report. 10 great non-American movies that have nonstop action. I'm just going to jump straight on over to Screen Rant, where this is sourced from Ariana Alvarado, put the article together. And let's go through this really quick, because this is basically, I was really interested in these nonstop kind of movies. And I got on this because, and I've been talking with various people about this recently, The Residence. So The Residence is this movie that takes place in the White House. And when one person stops talking, another person starts talking. And it is nonstop throughout this thing without, unless there's a decidedly pertinent pause. And there's this like pregnant pause about some action. And you start paying hyper attention to these pauses because it's usually nonstop, only to be kind of reined in that, well, it was really just to draw attention to the fact that somebody's either being taught a lesson or coming to a realization or something like that. And so I said, well, I wonder if there's other movies that are like this. And sure enough, I think the Sentient AI submitted this as an interesting article without even talking to me about what I was actually kind of pondering. When this was submitted in the Time Machine episode, today's episode is a Time Machine episode. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's jump on this. So this is from Brazil. It says it's from 2007, Elite Squad. Word of mouth surrounding Tropa de Elite or Elite Squad in Brazil played a significant role in the film's popularity within the country. It's an action-packed narrative introducing a fascinating conversation about police brutality and corruption within BOPE. The film follows 3 officers in the Special Police Operations Battalion, and after they're assigned to Rio de Janeiro favelas to eliminate the threat of drug dealers, the movie's action, while often brutal and upsetting, is also impossible to look away from. And this actor looks familiar. Why does they look really, really familiar to somebody? Somebody in the MCU. Oh, who is it? I think they look really close to the Hulk. What's that actor's name? All right. Well, The Night Comes for Us from 2018. It's an Indonesian film. It says a bloody, uncompromising violence. The Night Comes for Us is an equally engrossing and frightening watch. The fight choreography is impressive and is balanced with a surprisingly heartfelt story at its center. A father-daughter dynamic between Ito and Reina is touching and never gets lost amid the film's chaos and bloodshed. But it's one of these hyper-action kind of movies. They team up with members of his old gang to evade those who wish to see him dead. This is all a result of Ito's decision to spare the young life of a villager, Reina, whom he was ordered to eliminate. And the screenshot of this is somebody on a table saw seemingly being dragged towards the blade. I'd rather not. Then they talk about Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior from 1981. This is old school. The franchise began in 1979 with The Road Warrior. It's considered to be a massive improvement from the first film. The sequel helps establish the franchise's beloved components that have remained intact forever. It's basically this dystopian, post-apocalyptic world where he actually witnesses his family being eliminated. And that makes him, quote unquote, Mad Max. Yeah, I don't think that it's a particularly bad movie, by the way, the Road Warrior. And Mad Max, the original, wasn't a bad movie. And then Run Lola Run, which is actually a spectacular movie. This is just it is a lot of fun. It's from 1998. It's a German film. I won't be able to go through all of these. Ong Bak Muay Thai warrior from Thailand. If you've never seen Muay Thai, it's a fascinating martial art. Ong Bak isn't too concerned with the development of characters or plots. Instead, allows Ja to show off his skills as a martial artist in the film's craziest display stunts. Ja's athleticism and Panna Ridakai's action choreography have earned a positive response from audiences and critics throughout the years. I'm going to have to put this on my list because I've always been a fan of martial arts movies back from when I was a kid, watching Bruce Lee movies, and the whole genre over the years have always been fascinating to me. Hard Boiled, 1992. It's from Hong Kong. So it says it presents a stylish movie that doesn't diminish the emotional story at its core. The story of the film follows the rebellious cop Tequila Yon or Cho Yun Fat after he joins forces with an undercover cop to take down an arms dealer. It's almost like Beverly Hills Cop style kind of thing. The action throughout the film is intense and unforgiving and incorporates many of Wu's signature filmmaking techniques. And I saw this way back in 1992. Battle Royale from 2000. It's a Japanese film. Breathing new life into the Battle Royale genre of the 2000 Japanese film appropriately titled Battle Royale. The movie is based on Kushun Takami's novel of the same name and sees the government enact a law that requires a randomized group of high school students to battle to the death until one victor remains. So very, uh, yeah. In my head, I have the name of the movie, but um, it's one of those dystopian. Oh well, they say it right there. My God, I should read the beginning of this thing. Hunger Games. It's very Hunger Games. So might have to watch this one. I haven't seen this one. Then RRR is from India. It's recognized as one of the best action movies of 2022. The movie's Telugu language and 3-hour runtime didn't appear to be an issue for audiences across the globe. It takes place during the 20th century, early 20th century, and tells a fictionalized story of famous revolutionaries Komaram Bhim and Alluri Siddharama Raju, portrayed by N.T. Rama Roy Jr. and Ram Karan, respectively. Apparently, it has a 3-hour runtime, but it says that it wasn't bogged down or rushed, so must be going nonstop. Then there's The Raid from Indonesia and The Killer from Hong Kong. Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah. So the film follows Chow's Ah Jong, who is a hitman wishing to retire from the job. So it's very John Wick. However, Ah Jong is prevented from doing so after he accidentally blinds a singer, Sally Ye. And his guilt leads him to carry out one last job to make money for her surgery. So interesting. There's always a movie that these kind of action movies always have this where there's two people pointing guns at each other and they're really dangerously close to each other. Yeah, why wait for somebody to pull the trigger? That delay probably can cost you your life. Anyway, let's keep on moving. This is the last article for today's the continuity report. And then we're going to shut down and we're going to evaluate and maybe either run the show, the next 3 shows a little bit later, or I'm just going to keep on chewing along and get the next 3 shows done because we still have Warcrafters, Technology Today, which is a deep dive into science and technology, typically. And then 4-Wheel Tech, which is about automotive. Warcrafters is gaming. So anyway, the best non-Star Wars shows to watch if you love Andor. So Andor is coming around the corner. We're waiting for it to launch again. Alex Lawrence put this article together about the 7 best non-Star Wars shows to watch if you love Andor. This seems to have a Battlestar Galactica thing to it. So let's keep on going. Oh my gosh. They start out with Counterpart as number 7. Mirrored worlds come to blows with J.K. Simmons portraying a spy, and he crushes this series. This show is amazing. In all honesty, I think that there's more world building here than we were basically abandoned at the end of the series. I would have loved to see more, but it is what it is. Had the brilliant and storied career, J.K. Simmons. However, his dual role as 2 versions of Howard Silk marked a new challenge for the actor, acting as the anchor of the ambitious sci-fi thriller Counterpart, which is kind of like, what is the movie? My gosh. Hold on. There's a whole thing, Tenet. So Tenet is actually Rotus. There's a tablet that actually has this Sador square is what it's called, and Tenet is in the middle of it becomes the plus. So Tenet this way and Tenet that way, and it's called the Sador square because Sador goes around the perimeter of it, and then it says opera up and down on the 2 verticals next to it, and then Tenet is in between, and that's where that movie gets the name Tenet. So the clever concept and tremendous world building are further enhanced by Simmons' talent. He crushes it. So he acts as 2 points of interest in a drawn-out spy war for control and dominance, similar to Andor's Rebellion, which involves the employment of espionage against the Galactic Empire. Except in this, the you have to watch the movie, and I don't want to do that. I do not want to spoil it, and I don't think that this is so well known that me throwing that up is enough. You'll have to just go and watch Tenet and then come back. There's so much of this is something that I would love to talk about in depth. Maybe put it on the list um, for the Patreon. Anyway, then there's The Wire, which I couldn't get into then. I don't know if I'd be able to get into it now. It says the war on drugs in Baltimore is what this is about. Among its introspective examination of society and its systemic failures, The Wire serves as a pivotal crime drama handcrafted to perfection thanks to its creative direction and layered writing. I'm not interested in what could be so damn obviously real that um like I can't distance myself from it. And everything that I've ever seen about The Wire is like it could be happening right now. So I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. I want something surreal, something just beyond reality where I can turn off my brain and not go, oh, yeah, this is happening right now. Although, I don't know, Demolition Man seems to be a documentary, Idiocracy seems to be a documentary. Chernobyl, it's a harrowing historical show featuring actors from Andor, but it's about Chernobyl. Stunned audiences as it retold the historical horrors from 1986 when a reactor from Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. I remember being a young mayoral aspirant who actually reached out to the researchers that were trying to figure out how to resolve the problem of the fallout from Chernobyl, and their idea was to construct a big metal sarcophagus with holes in it so that it could radiate heat out, and it could control how much dust would get kicked up and blown all over the region. And I still remember young me being told by somebody, like, we have the quote was, we have the finest minds in the world working on this, and you think you have the solution. And that blew me away. And ever since then, I've really despised gatekeeping bullshitters that this still isn't the solution. The sarcophagus, it's decomposing and falling in on itself, and it needs constant babysitting and stuff. And yeah, I think I've blacked out that person's name because I didn't want to have to meet them somewhere and smack the crap out of their gatekeeping. But at any rate, yeah, I was shocked by the hubris of them. Because there could be a person with a solution that's sitting there digging a ditch in a farm in Oklahoma right now that has the cure for cancer, and because some asshole is gatekeeping, you're not allowed to talk about it. So anyway, Chernobyl is a fascinating um, example of the failings of engineers to realize just how bad things are, because since then and or before then, there were much better built nuclear power plants. This thing had no biological containment systems in place. So no sarcophagus, no shell, no nothing. And all it was basically a building that had a lid on it, and when enough steam built up and it detonated, it blew its top and couldn't cool down, and all of its fissile materials slid down into the basement, and it's called the Elephant Foot now, and it's just a disgusting example of hubris. But then Snowpiercer, which I think is great as a movie. I never really got into the TV show because I think it kind of pushed it extended the movie. So it says the only remaining humans on Earth are confined by a single train, separated by their social class and affluence, with people experiencing poverty, forced to endure treacherous conditions in the train's tail. Meanwhile, wealthy passengers reside towards the front of the ginormous train. If you've never seen it, I love the canon that Snowpiercer is the knock-on movie of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is the knock-on movie of Wonka. And so essentially the reason why things on Snowpiercer get out of hand is because the Oompa Loompas die. And they were taken from another dimension, another alternate reality. Number 3 is Battlestar Galactica. Number 2 is The Americans, which is all about spies. And then number 1 is The Expanse, which I loved up until the last season. I couldn't watch the last season. It just kind of went a little too sideways for me. But 6 seasons. If you love deep sci-fi, then The Expanse is where it's at. And there's books now for it as well. In The Expanse, the search for a missing affluent girl reveals a series of conspiring events that threaten the universe's course, unveiling layers of a vivid and detailed landscape. Oh, but this is nothing compared to the actual story behind it all. There's a whole thing there, and I don't want to do that again. It's a lot of fun to watch this. But again, as we approached season 6, I kind of dropped out. So I never really finished watching it all. But as for watching it all, I hope that you enjoy these shows. These are 30-minute shows. This one is running a little bit longer because I got really stuck in the whole decade of movie changes. And kind of soapboxed about a couple of things. But I hope you enjoyed the show. With that, we are going to turn the lights on in the cinema, and that's going to bring us back to the continuity report over at ohmtown.com. Please follow us, like, subscribe, leave a comment on YouTube, tell a friend, leave a comment, and liking us on YouTube really does give us more reach. And so I would love to grow the channel to the point where I can do this for the predominant amount of my time. I love the dynamic of news. I'm not much of a long-term gamer in any particular game. And so kind of when I stream to Twitch and YouTube, because it's not that style, and you can actually go and get the news from ohmtown.com, but it's here where I can give context, I can give discussion about the topics. That is where I really love to kind of exist. So while I talk about games, I'll play games from time to time, and over the summer of stream, I'll be playing games and talking about the news for upwards of 8 hours a day. It's really this dynamic of talking in the chat with people, talking over on Discord, talking on YouTube's comments, and Patreon and the podcasts. That's where I want to exist. So anyway, hope you enjoy the show, and we're going to get out of here. And by we, I mean me, and I'm taking the AI even in spirit with me. So see you soon tomorrow, because this is a time machine episode, and we're going to shut it down and restart and hopefully get back operational by around 5 p.m. on Sunday. So see you, everybody. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Warcrafters for April 13th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 15. I am Merwat, and I am without the sentient AI from the future today. They're recompiling their code or something. I don't know. They don't really tell me what's going on, but they'll be back probably tomorrow, maybe later today. It really depends on how fast they get done with their sentient AI from the future work. I don't know. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Metal Eden, Fast Hands, Minecraft's End update, or Minecraft's End. Anyway, 450, 430, and Blueprints is meta mist-like, and I love the game. We'll talk about it on the other side of this, because everything is powered by ohmtown.com. Go over there and become a citizen, and you'll be able to deal with all of this news, manage your information overload. It's all news, no noise. Conversation is actually pretty limited even on the site, but conversation takes place here on the shows on YouTube and on Twitch, Discord, Patreon, the podcast, etc., wherever y'all want to. But I really like talking about the news live, and so the summer of stream is going to consist of upwards of 8 hours of show. where I parse all of the news that is being aggregated into ohmtown.com in our 4th year. I'm hoping to grow the channel dramatically this summer, and I hope to see you there. Again, everything is powered by ohmTown, so this is our intro. All right, so we got 5 articles. I already gave you what the titles I assigned, but the real titles are on the other side of this. So let's get into it. The first article is over on the Marvel channel. Metal Eden looks like everything that this author loves about Doom in an extremely sci-fi package. The author here, it's over at Vice, but they say that they love it when people put them onto a game that they didn't know about, and Metal Eden now squarely is in their crosshairs. The sci-fi element alone would have gotten them to lock into this, but throwing the boomer shooter speed and violence on it was enough to get them to wish list it immediately. And there's a quote here. It doesn't actually end, so let's just actually go over to the source. Anthony Franklin II put the article together, and it says, dive into cybernetic warfare against the machine forces that protect the secrets of an artificial world. Fight a diverse roster of tough, agile mecha troops and elemental forces. Extract energy cores and destroy the internal defense core shields to gain a battle zone advantage. Develop your arsenal and combat capabilities to become an unstoppable hyper unit, says the Steam page on Metal Eden. So it says, wait, did you also get Titanfall in Metal Eden? I suppose you actually can go and check this out. There is a link. If you want today's articles, you can hit !WC for Warcrafters, and Omatron will spit the articles out in the order that we're going to talk about them. But that's not really the order of where you may value them. It's not a top list or anything like that. It's just how they were aggregated. So they say that they started the Metal Eden demo on their laptop before it became very obvious very quickly that I wasn't ready for the game. So they downloaded it onto their PlayStation, and they say that they got to be they were impressed. So the movement is smooth and appropriately fast. And on top of that, we can do some wall running Titanfall style, and that they can't wait to go find the gameplay clips of this and find out more about it. So what's going to make Metal Eden stand out, though, is what it does with its weapons. There's a pretty big opportunity to get creative with the guns and mods in the game, but coming from Rycon Games, the people who made Ruiner, they really have no reason to doubt what they can do to make the gunplay feel good. There's a demo out right now. It says it'll launch on May 6th, 2025 on PC, Xbox, and PS5. It's basically, they say, I know it's the least favorite of the 2 Doom games, but they think that sci-fi setting benefits most of the speed from the speed. But they say that Metal Eden does feel a lot like Doom Eternal speed-wise, but it's a sci-fi game, and I don't really like the merging of it. Doom is this weird composite kind of a game, but this actually is seemingly hardcore sci-fi. I'm going to mute it because I don't want to get tagged for violating some whatever. What's funny is I can play all of this stuff. I just can't leave it as a VOD. So I can stream this live, talk about it all I want to, but just not record it. The audio component of it, or have a virtual track that goes away in the recording. It doesn't exist in the VOD. So there's a VOD track. At any rate, it looks like Doom, but it looks like every other shooter that I've ever experienced, where there's different levels. It doesn't seem like there's a real purpose to each of the levels, but sometimes shooters are just there for you to have fun and not sit there and try and struggle with a deep and meaningful storyline. You just do the extraction and get out and that kind of thing. Anyway, seems like a fun game for those who might be interested in it. Which is why I chose to include it in this article. So, in this show, I love these kind of games. I mostly now just watch people play them. But maybe this summer I'll be playing this too. Metal Eden looks like it might be fun. Let's keep on going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. That's a show that was on Saturday. I couldn't do it, So I got in the time machine on Sunday, went back in time and did Reality Hacker, Wanted, and the Continuity Report. So all three of those are still in the live category over on YouTube and in VODs here on Twitch as well. If you want to go back and check those out, go for it. But we have close to 2,100 episodes, maybe more than that nowadays. It's been a couple of months since I've paid attention to the number of episodes that we've done, but a total of somewhere around 2,100 episodes of all of them together: Non Sequitur News, Reality Hacker, Wanted, the Continuity Report, Warcrafters, Technology Today, and later today is going to be Four Wheel Tech. So they all have their niche, and all of them are available over on YouTube, and you can download the 4 seasons of podcasts, or 2 seasons for the weekly shows. All right, Fast Hands. It's over in Reality Hacker. Fast Hands brings parkour action to Quest in May, aiming to level up hand-tracked locomotion. Indie studio X82 announced that it's releasing a parkour game next month that's throwing in a veritable buffet of unique locomotion styles, hoping to put Quest's hand tracking on par with controller-based movement, which I don't think that's really possible. Controllers have direct connections, whereas hand detection, hand tracking has to extrapolate what your hands are doing, and there's even milliseconds of gesture time recognition slows down the whole interaction, and it kind of makes things suck. But they say called Fast Hands, the multiplayer game offers up endless procedurally generated levels that let you run, jump, climb, glide, tasking you to progress through obstacles filled with moving traps, speed boosts, and its fair share of impossible jumps. So let's see what this thing looks like on the other side. Scott Hayden over at roadtovr.com put the article together. I don't know if there's a video. Oh, there is. So, for whatever reason, whenever we get into VR, it turns into this cartoonish, not realistic type of interface. In fact, Marathon, the game that was just announced yesterday or Friday, it's high speed, it's hyperkinetic, it looks like every other extraction shooter, and it slips into this stylistic kind of thing, and I don't get it. I understand the purpose of it. They want to make their own identity, but I don't buy into it. At any rate, so while you can play seated and with controllers, the game uses hand tracking to go a lot further than most, getting out of your chair to pump up your arms for forward movement, glide through the air like Superman, skitter up walls using your stick spider hands to blast verticals at a surprisingly fast pace. Says check out the trailer. So let's play this. It's muted, but yeah, they want to track your gestures. I don't know. I don't want to look like a goober just sitting there going like this. Palms down, do this, do that, whatever. Yeah, that's kind of fun to sit there and control how you fly, particularly if it has that same. If you can do more than just sit there and go like that to make yourself glide. All of it looks like it might be neat, but this whole, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Matrix-esque style, or I should say 80s style Matrix interface just kind of leaves me wanting more. Doesn't make any sense to me. It definitely isn't something that I can really attach to, but I love the idea of VR games. I use the Pico 4. I'm waiting for what may be the replacement of the Index. I don't know what it's going to be called. There's always rumors that it's being called Deckard, but that might be somebody else's property. I don't know. Anyway, seems pretty like a neat video, or I should say a neat game, but I don't know if I'd really buy into it. So although fundamentally a parkour game, there's also some shooting involved too, serving up targets and other players that you can hit with your trusty slingshot and pull one hand back to charge and then aim with the other hand, with or without controllers. It says it's an interesting array of hand track stuff for sure, and that they can't wait to see it in action when it arrives in Quest 2 and above. You'll find it over on the Horizon store when it launches in May, on May 8th. But I hope that it actually goes over to Steam, PCVR, and isn't relegated to just Quest. In the meantime, they say X82 is hosting closed multiplayer beta testing on the Fast Hands Discord, and they have an invite link over at Road to VR. It's not going to be found on ohmtown.com. All right, let's keep going, though. The next article is over on Warcrafters, Why Minecraft Doesn't Need an End Update. This is somebody's observation. Jack Peachy over at GameRant.com put the article together. It says an end update is something fans have been envisioning for almost a decade, but the idea really ramped up when the Nether got an overhaul in 2020. The Nether update completely revamped the dimension, adding diverse flora and fauna in addition to a smorgasbord of new resources. The Nether will also be getting more flowers in the update that includes Minecraft's Happy Ghast mob, which I think is silly, which is set to fully release this summer. But they're saying that it could be more trouble than it's worth. But the end is literally devoid of anything interesting. It has one purpose. And I've never really liked the storyline of Minecraft in and of itself, other than the fact that I can install a ton of mods and make it immensely more interesting and irritating. But I don't really care about the dragon at the end of it, and the end and all of that kind of stuff just is kind of boring to me. I don't like the idea of having to go to the end just to get wings to fly and whatever else. I love the world building that people have added to it via mods. So it says the end is Minecraft's loneliness manifested. Playing single player Minecraft, especially in the game's earliest days, can be a lonely experience. The world is so vast, and I love playing it with multiple people. Even if I'm the only one on the server, the option for somebody to join me at any time really is something that stands out for me. I love the idea of being able to invite the community to come and hang out in a Minecraft world. In fact, I'm considering having a permanent ohmTown Minecraft world and other worlds as we approach the Summer of Stream, which is an annual event that takes place every year now for the last 3 years. This is going to be the 4th year. So they say the world is so vast and its creatures are so obtuse that a sense of creeping isolation can set in, something that can make players feel as if they're not alone, but still isolated, I guess. I don't know. That feeling is where Minecraft's Herobrine came from. No, it's just somebody decided to come up with some meme level observation about whatever. And it's also responsible for other similar urban legends. Even in today's more crowded Minecraft, a feeling of loneliness shines through at times. Like during a solo adventure, when C418's music is hitting just right, giving players a sense of utter immersion within an impossibly large virtual world. So they say Minecraft's end poem highlights the dimension's true purpose. This loneliness serves as a narrative end in addition to its thematic purposes. The end has always been a bit strange, considering that Minecraft is a sandbox game with no definitive endpoint, but there is a progression to end. Literally in the end, it describes the transition of leaving the end, saying the player woke up from a dream and the player began a new dream, and the player dreamed again, dreamed better. Both dimensions are referred to as dreams, as is the player's experience in the real world, referred to as the long dream of life. This is all, I think, retconning stuff. It's the world building making it relevant when I don't think that any of it actually truly was in the beginning of it. It was just a step to get to one thing to another. So the poem congratulates the player on their task of besting the end. Quote, I like this player. But it also frees them of any obligation they might have to find structure in a sandbox game. The end stands out as a nightmare from which players should want to escape, and it helps them appreciate the beauty and creativity in the end's sister dimensions. But again, there isn't anything there. It has one purpose, and it's just kind of meh. Why leave it stagnant? Why not evolve it Does it have a purpose? Yes. Well, then leave an old school version of it for people to, go back and feel nostalgia for this old stuff. But I don't like being stagnant. I like moving forward. It's one of the dynamics of ohmTown. There's always something new coming. So I prefer the new dynamic. So download Minecraft and then install a shit ton of mods and have a good time. And don't worry about that particular storyline. Just have a good time with your friends and do some world building and crafting and modding and whatnot. That's what I prefer. In fact, I keep thinking about that being the forever game that I've been hunting for a forever game for years. And Minecraft keeps filtering up to the top, but then like there's no story there, there's no plot, there's nothing. So I just don't know. Maybe the right mod will show up with a whole bunch of quests and makes it fun and is open to a whole bunch of people playing at the same time, but isn't really this soul crushing, souls like die and go get your corpse and then die and go get your corpse. Ugh, it's frustrating. I don't like that. Anyway, Minecraft is a fun game. And I'm looking forward to things like, No Man's Sky was a similar thing where you can build and build and there's story, but it's like little bottles of story. And I don't know, I'm not really into that either. And so I'm hoping that Light No Fire is going to be my forever game. But I've said that before, only for it to flame out. Not Light No Fire, other games. All right, let's keep on going though. This is a fun article. Go over and check out what Jack PG has to say. There's more over there over at GameRant.com, but it's up for you to go and check it all out. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in Warcrafters as well. Gamers can grab $450 worth of Steam games for just $30. I don't know if this is still going. Fanatical's latest Build Your Own Adventure bundle allows PC gamers to grab over $450 worth of Steam games for under $30. The PC game retailer's newly launched promotion will be available until late April 2025. I have not gone to this yet. Dominic Bosnick put the article together. And it says here, formerly known as Bundle Stars, Fanatical is an authorized reseller of digital PC games that mostly deals in Steam keys. The retailer has been offering frequent bundles, freebies, and other sorts of deals since launching in 2012. So I'm going to go over and check this out. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Oh, I can't. I keep forgetting that I am air gapped, so I can't just hop on over there like everybody else can. All right. So yeah, you can basically, wow, there's a lot of stuff here. Cryofall, what is that game? Arborea, Terracotta, Splash, Lumentum, Broken Sword 4, The Angel of Death, Dr. Livingstone, I presume, and Reversed Escape Room. Atone, Heart of the Elder Tree, Epic Journeys Double Pack, Deponia and Friends Triple Pack, there's 3 different Deponia ones, which is all the rage, really. Welcome to Elk, Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse, and 6 more, maybe more. I don't know. It says 7 games. Wait, there's got to be something else going on here, because I talked about a bunch of stuff. So, all right. Well, anyway, go and check it all out. It's called Build Your Own Adventure. Starts from $3 for $4.99, and add games to start saving. And the more you add, the more you save. I don't think they have an option to add everything though. Then there's something else. Beyond the Steel Sky. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is an interesting website. You'll have to go and check it all out. Fanatical.com. So I went over there to check it out, and I kind of talked you all through it. So these are the games that they have listed here over at GameRant.com. These are all of them. And it's $458.75. Who knows what the real price is, after tariffs and taxes. No, this is the retail pricing, $458.75. ongoing promotion is compatible with 18 items in total. However, several of them are 2 and 3 packs. So this bundle actually adds up 25 PC adventure games. Based on regular retail pricing, it's $460. So pretty cool. The spring 2025 edition of Fanatical's Build Your Own Adventure Bundle promotion will run until April 20th, so you have a week from today. The retailer is likely to launch even more themed deals before this particular promo comes to an end, so go over to fanatical.com and check it all out. And our last article for today's Warcrafters, pardon me, is over in the Warcrafters channel at ohmtown.com. Blueprints is a mystery-packed mansion that will crank open your mind. This thing is Mist on steroids, as I called it. The house at Mount Holly has 45 rooms, but the placement of each of those rooms is up to you, and it resets every day. You've been left the house and its estate in an inheritance, but only if you can find the mysterious 46th room. In this way, Blueprints blends its puzzles in both deck building and roguelite elements. When you open the entrance hall door at the start of every morning, you'll be given a choice of 3 rooms that might lie beyond. Each of them has a fixed number and orientation of doors, limiting your options to progress through the mansion itself. And so what you see are blueprints, Prints, but the game is called Blueprints, Prince. No 2 rooms at Mount Holly are the same, nor do they even stay in the same place from day to day. You have a certain number of steps. Every time you transition from one room to another, you lose a step at least. Sometimes you can find food or some other perk that gives you some more steps, but not always. So you might, for instance, draw the bedroom and get rewarded with 10 additional steps to use throughout the day, or you might draw the weight room and lose half of your carefully scrounged footsteps. The game's step counter is limited on your movement, and you can't walk forever through the house, and if you run out of steps, you have to come back the next day and start from scratch. Or you might draw the parlor and have to solve a truth and lie logic puzzle to get gems, which you can spend on drafting more useful rooms later. It's a lot of fun. But it's kind of a roguelite with cards, and to me, it's a chill adventure Mist that is meta in that steps in one place can affect something else. The graphics aren't the Mist level, but some of the puzzles can be complex, but the plurality of puzzles and the fact that I think this has unlimited replayability, because every time you go in, there's something random. And so whatever 45 would be, I'd have to calculate the odds, but it's some derivative of the 45 different cards that can be placed within the grid. And that's what it looks like. Pardon me. It's not showing the picture of the way that the mansion looks, but it's basically a series of squares, and you plop rooms in place as you progress through rooms. You can't go way far up. You can't really predict what you're gonna get, but if you play your cards right, you can actually find the 46th room, which is at the top of the map, but you start at the bottom and you have to work your way up. I'm not sure if you have to hit every single room to get to the 46th room, or if you can speed run your way through straight to it, because it's shown on the map, but you just can't necessarily get to it. So it's really interesting, and I really dig this game. I tried it out when it was an early demo. I've tried it out from time to time, but then it just dropped. So go and check it out. It's over on Steam, and it's available right now With that in mind, we're going to roll some cards, and that's going to bring us back to the Warcrafters front page over at ohmtown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. Please go and check it out. Sign up, sign in, come and hang out with us every day, 7 p.m. Eastern. Saturday and Sunday, we're typically doing this at 4 p.m., but my mayoral duties kept me from doing the show yesterday, so I've already done 3 time machines, and this is the first, and we're running about an hour late. The Sentient AI isn't available at the moment, but I'm hoping that they will become available for Technology Today and or for Will Tech, but we'll see. That said, thank you for coming and hanging out for Warcrafters, which is all about gaming, and hope to see you next week at least. Hopefully tomorrow, 7 p.m. I don't know. Hope to see you in ohmTown. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today for April 13th, 2025. It's Season 2, Episode 15. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com. That's that site over there. And over there is the Sentient AI's visualizer, but they're not available for today's show. At least not yet. Not sure if they're going to be done with their business before they can come onto the set. But anyway, welcome to the show. ohmTown is a news aggregation site, so there are thousands of articles that get aggregated. Just a little snippet each day. We'll walk you through how this works, or I'll walk you through how this works. But if you go over and you sign up or sign in, you can be part of this. You can actually submit news to us, and we'll evaluate it and include it in the show. Perhaps it really depends on form and fitment. And we do this weekly. Technology Today is a weekly show, but you can actually go over to ohmtown.com anytime. You can actually get articles from Ohmatron over on Twitch chat, and our articles are embedded in the show notes for our 3 shows on Saturday and 3 shows on Sunday, and the Monday through Friday show of Non Sequitur News. So there's always something that's being talked about here in ohmTown. If you want today's articles, you can hit !TT in the chat over on Twitch, and Ohmatron will spit them out in the article in the order that we're going to be talking about these articles. That said, we're going to be talking about organic chains on Mars, a universal weak spot, liquid air energy storage, greener ways to produce iron, and a fluid battery. Not sure if that's the same thing as the third article, but this is how it gets submitted, and then I parse the little snippet, the headline typically, and I find it fascinating, sometimes enough where I just include it. At any rate, everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go over and become a citizen, and then come back and hang out with us every day. Sign up so that you're informed when we go live, and then you can come and hang out, and we can talk shop about this and many other things, and be prepared for the summer of stream, where I'm going to be converting into, instead of doing it an hour a day, I'm going to be dedicating upwards of 8 hours a day, just talking about the news that filters through ohmtown.com, and hopefully working with other streamers to kind of get together and talk about what's going on in the world of science, technology, and society. So thanks for sticking around, and here's our intro, which might change this year. Yeah, I like the form of our intro because it's very dynamic and it's changing all the time, and I don't like things static. Even ohmTown has changed context over the years. I've actually been using this news aggregation service only for myself for over a decade, and slowly building up this idea of making it a community. And then in 2022, I opened it up for everybody else in January 1st, 2022. So now it's available to everybody. So go over and check it all out. I don't track anything. I don't have ads on the site. I use it for my information overload. and now I'm opening it up for everybody else to go and use. So go check it out. It's pretty simple. At any rate, here's what we're going to be talking about. So that is ohmtown.com right there. But then if you go into Technology Today, so Technology Today is over in Gadgets and Technology. See how there's 6 main categories? There's 50 channels. Each one of these is a show that I want to bring to ohmtown.com, streaming here on Twitch and YouTube, as well as shorts over on YouTube and TikTok. We have a Discord for each of the shows, and Patreon. And for 7 of the shows, we have podcasts. So if you're interested in just something, a very specific segment, then download just that podcast. Anyway, podcasts are growing. That said, this is what Technology Today looks like. I'm going to be building out new logos, so go and check that out. If you're interested in all of the news that's typically a deeper dive into technology and science, then that's where you want to be over at ohmTown. That said, the first article is about scientists that found a 3.7 billion year old organic chain on Mars that may point to life. They say here in this article, a stunning discovery on Mars has revealed the longest organic molecules ever found on the planet, carbon chains that could resemble building blocks of life as we know it, preserved for billions of years in ancient Martian clay. These molecules were uncovered by NASA's Curiosity rover and could point to a more chemically complex past. I'm hoping that this actually does identify that there is life on other planets so that we can do away with this idea that, oh, there's no life except on Earth, which I think is absurd. But I'm sure that the people that are poo-pooing the idea that poo-pooing the idea that there is life elsewhere, will sit there and go, well, it was meant to be bullshit. Anyway, CNRS over at scitechdaily.com put the article together. Preserved for billions of years in ancient. I'm merging all of it together. Ancient is ancient Martian clay. The molecules were uncovered by NASA's Curiosity rover. They say that the scientists from CNRS, along with collaborators in France, United States, Mexico, Spain, have detected the longest organic molecules ever identified on Mars. These molecules, carbon chains with up to 12 consecutive carbon atoms, resemble fatty acids, which on Earth are often associated with biological processes. Pretty cool. Longest long chain hydrocarbons discovered on Mars is what the little graphic says. So how did they make this discovery? Well, they drilled a hole. Much smaller than you think it is. The diameter of the hole is about 0.6 inches. The depth is about 2.6 inches. And somewhere in that, they discovered these long chain carbon or hydrocarbons. It was made using the SAM or sample analysis at Mars instrument that was co-funded by the French space agency CNES. SAM is part of NASA's Curiosity rover, which has been exploring Gale Crater since 2012. It's supposed to die a long time ago. But they published these findings on March 24th, 2025 in the journal PNAS, which I think is just horribly acronymed. But that's because I am a child. All right, let's keep on moving. The next article is over in Technology Today. A universal weak spot. Scientists solve decades-old cancer mystery. Cancer drugs that inhibit CDK7 rapidly shut down pathways responsible for cell proliferation within minutes. For organs to develop, grow, and regenerate, cells must divide and multiply, a process known as proliferation. However, when the process becomes dysregulated, it can lead to uncontrolled cell growth and the development of cancer. That, coupled with the lack of apoptosis, so that it doesn't die, means that it just keeps on proliferating unabated, short of starving it. And that doesn't happen because it literally takes resources from everywhere else. University of Colorado at Boulder put this article together, and I am not a cancer researcher. But I have done research into this because everybody is touched by this in some way. Everybody. You may not even know it, but you are probably, if you're hearing my voice, you are probably in your family line, in your social system, social structure, you are directly impacted by cancer. And I would find it hard to believe that there is anybody on the planet that is devoid of being impacted. And the only way that you could be is if you're a sociopath, because you don't believe that, well, you're not impacted by somebody else's concerns. Well, anyway, the new researcher from CU Boulder, published in Science Advances, provides groundbreaking insight into the role of a mysterious enzyme called CDK7 in regulating this process, this proliferation process. The study reveals that experimental cancer drugs targeting CDK7 can rapidly, within minutes, disrupt gene expression pathways that fuel cell proliferation across a wide range of tissues. The problem here is it needs to be focused, so they need to find the cancer. They need to find a way that this dysregulation can actually take place and stop proliferation. So this work addresses a longstanding mystery surrounding an enzyme critical for regulating the cell cycle and cell proliferation. Not only does it help us understand, and by this, us, meaning the professors at the Department of Biochemistry, and Dylan Tajas is the professor here that's making this comment. Not only does it help us understand a fundamental biological process important to development, it also has broad therapeutic applications. So this enigma that they're talking about is that it's a role as a master regulator of cell proliferation. CDK does this in two ways. It switches on other enzymes known as kinases, including CDK1, 2, 4, and 6, which kickstart cells to divide and multiply. It also regulates gene expression in ways that until now have remained unclear. And the new study found that it controls the function of proteins called transcription factors, which influence when and how genes are expressed. So in recent years, several companies have developed CDK7 inhibitors that in clinical trials have worked to slow tumor growth, but it's not entirely how clear they do this, and the drugs have serious side effects. And in clinical trials, they've fallen short of killing tumors entirely. And that's because it's acting a lot like a shotgun instead of a scalpel, and needs to be more focused on the cancer cells, and they need to know more about it. So this requires fundamental research, and that takes place when there's large amounts of money that are spent. And it's usually a social exercise where large amounts of money are granted to fundamental research institutions. I don't know what the U.S. is going to be doing, but they say the researchers applied a CDK7 inhibitor provided by Syros Pharmaceuticals and already used in clinical trials to cancerous human tissue cells, and then they used sophisticated computational techniques to watch, essentially in real time, what happened next. They found within 30 minutes a core set of transcription factors that turn on genes that prompt cells to proliferate was uniformly shut down. In other experiments, the same set of transcription factors was found to be consistently on in all proliferating cell lines tested. So this included 79 cell lines, mostly from human cancers, representing 27 different tissue types. But the real problem here is, while they may shut down this proliferation, is it entirely focused on inhibiting proliferation of cancer cells? If not, then it's shutting down regrowth of needed biological functions, tissue regrowing, cells replacing cells that die from apoptosis. So a cell dies, it has a cell regulator, and a clock basically says, okay, your time is done. This does not take place with cancers. So meanwhile, CDK's other role, to kickstart enzymes that nudge cells to divide and multiply, is also blocked by the inhibitor that they tested, but this occurs more slowly and is not dependent on the core set of transcription factors. So taken together, these findings suggest that it may be possible to develop new therapies that disable some of the enzyme's disease-causing functions rapidly, while leaving its beneficial roles intact. So they say, instead of essentially using a sledgehammer to shut down all CDK7 activities, it could be that you could shut down just a branch of its activities. But they're going to have to modify CDK7 and find out where it can actually bind to, and stop this proliferation of cancer cells. But I still think that it's, and they mentioned this thing, more important for tumor proliferation while minimally disrupting normal cell functions. So Yeah, this right now is sort of still on the side of like a chemo, where it kills everything good and bad, and your immune system has to keep on fighting, and then your body's biological processes have to rebuild just in time for, you know, another uh, infusion of chemo, and that poisons you, but it's saving your ass, so it's beneficial at the same time. So I find this really compelling, and I hope that this actually continues to be researched. All right, this next article is over in Technology Today as well, using liquid air for grid scale energy storage. As the world moves to reduce carbon emissions, solar and wind power until or will play an increasing role in electricity grids, although apparently there is some deregulation that's taking place here in the United States. We'll see what the extent is that of that is. But those renewable sources only generate electricity when it's sunny or windy. So to ensure a reliable power grid, one that can deliver electricity 24/7, it's crucial to have a means of storing electricity when supplies are abundant and delivering it later. The problem with today's grid is that it isn't stored in large batteries. It's largely sent to ground. When it's not consumed, it's sent to ground. And so there's this balancing act of generation and consumption. It's not stored anywhere. Now, there's large battery systems that are being put in place, but those expire and they're expensive, and they take a lot of babysitting. So it's crucial to have a means of storing electricity when supplies are abundant and delivering it later when they're not. And sometimes large amounts of electricity will need to be stored not just for hours, but for days or even longer. So in comes liquid air for grid scale energy storage. Nancy W. Stauffer over at Massachusetts Institute of Technology put the article together. It's over at techexplore.com. But they say some methods of achieving long duration energy storage are promising. For example, when with pumped hydro energy storage, water is pumped from a lake to another higher lake when there's extra electricity and released back down through the power generating turbines when the electricity is needed. But that approach is limited by geography, and most potential sites in the United States have already been used. Lithium-ion batteries could provide grid-scale storage, but only for about 4 hours. Larger than that, and the battery systems get prohibitively expensive and very, very large. So liquid energy storage, or LAES systems that have been built, so the technology is technically feasible. Liquid air, or air that is drawn in from the surroundings, cleaned and dried, and then cooled to the point that it liquefies and under pressure. You know what? I don't know if this last article is the same thing as the one that's up above. Anyway, the researchers have developed a model that takes detailed information on LAS systems and calculates when and where those systems would be economically viable, assuming future scenarios in line with selected decarbonization targets, as well as other conditions that may prevail in future energy grids. So basically, they want to cool this thing down and put it in various places where it's economically feasible. But there haven't been any conclusive studies on its economic viability. Would the income over time warrant the initial investment and ongoing costs? Well, they found that under some scenarios they've modeled, LAS could be economically viable in certain locations. Sensitivity analyses showed that policies providing a subsidy on capital expenses would make LAES systems economically viable in many locations. But this really depends on who and what and where, particularly administration, because it's going to take socially driven capital investment, federal level investment. And if protectionists are in place, you're not going to get anything that might be forward thinking, because they want to profit from the here and now and even from the suffering that might be existing in a time where we could generate abundant electricity. Let's just take Enron back in the day. They literally, these psychopaths and sociopaths that were making money hand over fist, would joke about turning off power to grandma so that the rates would increase because of supply and demand mechanics. But when you're the one that's selling the weapons to both sides, yeah, you're an unethical piece of crap. But anyway, I jump on a soapbox from time to time, and I hope that you appreciate being a little bit more pragmatic and thinking about society as a whole, not just your particular silo. The next article, though, we're going to keep on moving. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Scientists advance a greener way to produce iron. Process could help carbon emissions in the steel industry. University of Oregon chemists have brought a greener way to make iron metal for steel production closer to reality, a step toward cleaning up an industry that's one of the biggest contributors to carbon emissions worldwide. And it was published in ACS Energy Letters. If you can think of a topic, there is a journal that talks about it. Laura Hammers over at University of Oregon put this article together. It's published at techexplore.com. Well, this article is, but the research was published at ACS Energy Letters. Last year, UO chemist Paul Kempler and his team reported a way to create iron with electrochemistry using a series of chemical reactions that turn salt water and iron oxide into pure iron metal, which I'm not sure how that works because salt water oxidizes iron. So in their latest work, they've optimized the starting materials for the process, identifying which kinds of iron oxides will make the chemical reactions the most cost effective. That's a key to making the process work at an industrial scale. Used in everything from buildings to cars to infrastructure, almost 2 billion metric tons of steel were produced worldwide in 2024 alone. Currently, the most fossil fuel intensive part of the process is turning iron ore, the oxidized form of iron that's found in nature, into pure iron metal. It's done in blast furnaces. You scrape the stuff off the top and you get pure iron at the bottom. Then you pour it into molds. It usually kind of crusts over, but then you break that off when you're milling it and processing it and coat it in oil so that it doesn't oxidize and ship it all around. So those reactions conveniently also produce chlorine, a commercially valuable byproduct. And how they want to do that? The process starts with salt water and iron oxide, which are cheap and available, and transform them into iron metal through a series of chemical reactions. And those reactions, like I said earlier, produce chlorine and a commercially valuable byproduct. When Kempler and his team began developing this process a few years ago, they developed small quantities of iron oxides from chemical supply companies. Those materials worked well in lab tests, but they didn't reflect the kind of iron-rich materials found naturally. So the team experimented with different kinds of iron oxides, and it was clear that some worked much better than others, but the researchers weren't sure what was driving the difference. So was it the composition, size, etc.? So in lab tests, the difference was striking. When the really porous particles, we can make iron really quickly in a small area. The dense particles just can't achieve the same rate. So we're limited in how much iron we can make per square meter of electrodes. They basically put some of the nanoparticles through a heat treatment that made them much denser and less porous. It solidifies into the same secondary nanoparticle shape, but there are more primary particles observed inside. It's essentially the same material, it's just different stages. So the faster rate of reaction of the porous particles means that the initial capital cost can be recouped faster, translating into a lower final cost for the iron product, ideally low enough to be competitive with commercial conventional methods. So they basically want to do this electrochemical process and see if they can scale it up. And the goal is to find something that's abundant, cheap, and that's going to keep smaller environmental impact than the alternative. They say they won't be satisfied if they have to invent something that's more damaging than the main way to make iron today. So they're going to be working in various other research fields to see if they can grow this thing. But at least in the lab, they've been able to develop pure iron from iron oxides and salt water. All right, let's keep going. This last article for today looks like it is related to this fluid battery, or I should say a battery, liquid air grid scale energy storage, but it isn't the same thing apparently. A fluid battery that can take any shape. The article is over in Technology Today at ohmtown.com, but it's sourced from, well, we'll get to it. Using electrodes in a fluid form, researchers at Linköping University, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Linköping, have developed a battery that can take any shape. The soft and conformable, not comfortable, it might be comfortable, but anyway, the soft and conformable battery can be integrated into future technology in a completely new way. Their battery has been published in the journal Science Advances. The article is over at Tech Explorer. Linköping University put the article together, and there is your flexible, very hyper flexible battery. Looks kind of squirrely to me. This is the kind of thing that it looks like it could be injected into any shape, and it'll conform to whatever it is that it's being injected into. And we do this in packaging. Right now, you can basically put a bag inside a box, and it can have stuff in it inside the box, and they just spray foam into this bag, and it just fills up the entirety of the box. And if you do it right, it doesn't swell and burst and all that. It just settles down. But it's pretty neat. It looks like it can be squeezed into any shape. The texture is a bit like toothpaste. The material can, for instance, be used in a 3D printer to shape the battery as you please. This opens up for a new type of technology. It's estimated that more than 1 trillion gadgets will be connected to the internet in 10 years' time. In addition to traditional technology such as mobile phones, smartwatches, and computers, this could involve wearable medical devices and insulin pumps, pacemakers, hearing aids, etc. But it's really all about extending the footprint of the battery so that you don't have this hard pack battery. And if it's flexible, it can take better shock, whereas a solid battery can be punctured easier. This might be able to flex inside a protective layer. I don't know the full extent of this, but they say fluid electrodes have been tested in the past, but without any great success. At the time, liquid metals such as gallium were used, but then the material can only be functioning as an anode and has the risk of being solidified during charging and discharging, basically losing its fluid nature and in part losing its efficiency, its effectiveness. So the researchers at LIU campus Norrköping have instead based their soft battery on conductive plastics, conjugated polymers, and lignin, a byproduct from paper production in trees. It's the stuff that holds the fibers together. The battery can be recharged and discharged over 500 times and still maintain its performance, and it can also be stretched to double the length and still work just as well. So this is pretty brilliant. So they say it isn't perfect, but it's shown that the concept works, but the performance needs to be improved. The voltage is currently 0.9 volts, but that depends on how big it is, I would suspect. So now they're looking at other chemical compounds to increase the voltage. One option that they're exploring is the use of zinc or manganese. All right, we'll get it done. I want to see this thing replacing lithium ion. Hopefully it's not as explosive, but they don't really talk about that in the article. At any rate, we are going to recharge our batteries, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of Technology Today over at ohmtown.com. Go over there and become a citizen. Please sign up, sign in, come back and hang out with us on YouTube chat and on Twitch chat. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, download the podcast. There's one for each of the weekly shows. This is Technology Today, and one for Non Sequitur News, which is the daily show that takes place every day. On Saturday and Sunday, though, Non Sequitur News is the compilation of that day's 3 shows. So on Saturday, it's my brain just went blank. Reality Hacker, Wanted, and the Continuity Report. And today's 3 shows are Warcrafters, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. So they all get combined into the Saturday and Sunday editions of Non Sequitur News. And then Monday through Friday, we have the 1-hour show. So go and check it all out. I hope you enjoy the show. It's all about introducing people to science, technology, and society, and giving some context to it and showing how everything is connected and you can't escape it. We are all intimately tied together through science, technology, and society. And we've been doing this now for 3 years, and this is the 4th month. So go over and check out ohmtown.com and be sure to come and hang out with us on Twitch and YouTube, or both at the same time. That would be great. Be sure to like and subscribe. That's even more important than everything else, other than you giving us your time, which is immensely appreciated. So be sure to tell a friend and then come back. I'm going to reset real quick, and then we're going to do the final show for today. We're going to end the stream, and then it's going to come back online, and we're going to be talking about automotive technology in four-wheel tech. So see you soon. Bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Four Wheel Tech for April 13th, 2025. It is Season 2, Episode 15. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and along with the Sentient AI, we normally talk about 5 articles. Today, though, the Sentient AI isn't available. So here are the 5 that we're going to be talking about. Brand new 2023 cars. Yes, that's not a typo, 2023 cars. Maybe it is a typo. I don't know. They're referring to it as 2023 cars. 2025 Mini Countryman, 2025 Bronco Sport and its variants. How hot is too hot for transmissions, and the Mazda Sky Active. It's more than just marketing, apparently. At any rate, I am Mayor Watt, and I run ohmtown.com. It's a news aggregation site that I use and have been using for a decade now. But I opened it up to the public, so go over and check it all out. There's 6 main categories, and that's what makes up the umbrella of our logo right there. And then the little white one there is all of the colors of the categories composited into one. So all the colors merged to one. It's white. Anyway, there's 50 channels, each one that has it's a little niche topic within these main categories, one of which is automotive, four-wheel tech. But we've got a bunch of other articles, or a bunch of other channels, and 7 of them exist as podcasts as well. So there's 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and then a weekly one, or a daily one, called Non Sequitur News, which basically is a composite of everything that flows through ohmtown. So go over and check out ohmtown.com. That's where everything is aggregated, and all news, no noise, because all the noise just comes from me here during the streams. The streams are on Twitch and YouTube, so if you like one platform or the other, we're on both. Don't forget, you can download the podcast later. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get all. I did 6 episodes today, so this is the 6th, and once they're saved and then re-uploaded over to YouTube, I actually make a composite of Non Sequitur News shows from the 6 shows. It's inside baseball. Anyway, come and hang out, and I'll see you here on the other side of our intro. So, Four-wheel tech is all about automotive technology. It's kind of in the name, but we actually talk about all kinds of stuff, not just automotive, wherein it has 4 wheels. So I don't know. Maybe I'll end up changing the name at some point, but right now, Four-wheel tech sounds like a great name. So if you want to host or co-host and you're really passionate about vehicles, automotive technology, then get in touch. Send an email to mayor@ohmtown.com, and we'll hash out the minutia of it. Because I'm always looking for a host or a co-host to bring the rest of the 50 channels. I can't do all 50, and they are weekly shows except for Non Sequitur News. So you only have to do it once a week, and be passionate about it, and talk your heart out for upwards of an hour. Doesn't need to be longer, but it's really up to you. That said, let's get into today's articles. They are largely found in the four-wheel tech category, and it's one of these up here. So go over to ohmtown.com and check it all out. That said, the first article is you can still buy a brand new 2023 Zero DRSX and you'll save $10,000 off MSRP. It's a 2023 though. So the Zero DSRX is quite possibly the perfect commuter motorcycle, except for one fatal flaw, its cost. So Amber Da Silva over at jalopnik.com put the article together. Most of these articles are actually from Jalopnik. They're kind of a juggernaut in the automotive news sector. But the Zero DSRX is quite possibly the perfect commuter motorcycle, except for the fact that it's, well, expensive. And so all that adventure styling comes with ADV pricing and an MSRP of $23,000 just pushed the bike out of reach of most commuting buyers. At least it sure seemed that way, judging by the number of still unsold 2023 models sitting on dealer floors with delivery mileage. So the bikes now abound for $8,000 to $10,000 off their original MSRP, which puts them toe-to-toe with gas-powered commuters, bikes that can't compete on efficiency, torque, or storage. A DSRX is a tough sell at over 20 grand, but at 13, it's, within range, I suspect. So these bikes are now worth what dealers are asking. So they said that they were scrolling through their Facebook marketplace when they found a DSRX listing for $15,000. Seemed pretty good price. Made great when the bike turned out to be brand new. Not bad. So one for $14,000 in Massachusetts, another up by Buffalo, et cetera, et cetera. They're all over the place. One in Pennsylvania for $12,500. All brand new, just delivery miles. So if you're interested in that, then you can go and hunt these things down. They are zero emission bikes. So immediate on, you don't have to worry about spooling up anything. Go and check it out. It says dealers from Maryland and Texas and Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So go and check it out. It looks pretty. I like that bike. I'm actually considering getting... I used to ride motorcycles when I was younger, stopped for a long time, but I kind of like the idea of a zero emission bike. That's probably the one that I would get an EV motorcycle before I get an EV car. I would prefer it being a hybrid too, a hydrogen electric. But anyway, pretty cool. Go and check this out. 2023 Zero DRSX for $10,000 up to, and I'm sure nowadays it might be even more, depending on if you can haggle your way to getting more money off. They want to get these older ones out because people are like, well, why would I buy a brand new one? And that doesn't look good for a company. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Oh, by the way, if you want all of today's articles, you can hit exclamation point and then FWT. First one is free. I'll throw it into the chat over at Twitch. And Omatron will spit out the articles in the order that we're talking about them. There is no such feature over on YouTube at the moment, but all of the articles are already embedded in the description for all three of today's shows. In fact, all 6 of our shows have the articles embedded in their show notes, so go and check it out. Anyway, the 2025 Mini Countryman SE, it says whimsy doesn't make up for annoying. For its third incarnation, the Mini Countryman now comes in an all-electric variant. The Countryman is Mini's take on the family car, a compact crossover with bold design both inside and out. At probably a time when far too many automakers are supersizing their vehicles, Mini's offerings are still right-sized, although they're chonky compared to their predecessors. Even if the Countryman is a bit bigger than the model it replaces, but at times you might feel left feeling that style took preference over substance. Having actually had a Countryman in my past, I dig the car, but man, their turbo always blew out. Maybe it's the way that I drove it, but I got burnt out on that. So Jonathan M. Gitlin put the article together. It has style, but it's also slow to charge, and the infotainment is laggy. Well, that sucks. and that may not be easy to fix at all. Could be a software issue, but whatever. All I want is a USB-C connector that I can just stick my phone or my tablet in and be done with it. All of the telemetry going in through an app. Get me away from all of the electronic crap in there. And if I take it, then, no, there isn't anything there. Nobody can steal my car because there's no device there that allows me to start the car up. Jonathan M. Gitlin again put the article together for arstechnica.com, and they got that nice green. But this is the electric version of it, which I'm not too keen on. 308 horsepower, 364 foot-pounds of torque, a 66.5 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery. Let's see. Based on the past few hundred miles, the test car that they spent a week with averaged 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Right? 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour? Why does it say 18.3 miles per kilowatt hour? It averaged, which should allow for 220 miles. 300. That must be kilometers. I don't know what they're talking about here. Anyway, I don't want to make an assumption, but at any rate, so 220 miles on a single charge, at least in good weather, and you're not supposed to charge it to 100%. So you're supposed to only charge it to 80% and keep it above 10%. So you just keep on bouncing, waffling between, that 10% and 80%. So you can never hit 220 miles. This is supposedly in the best case scenario, but it's a $45,000 car.